Budda Baker does deserve.
I like the other one, Budda Baker.
Budda Baker does deserve to be a top 5 gay guy. Good Lord, words are hard, Addy. You're right.
It's the IDP show, now you know.
Welcome to the IDP show. I'm your host, Josh Raymer. In the So Check tonight, Adam Markham, Bobby Reynolds. March Madness is in full swing right now, and we're not talking basketball. Free agency, boys, has kind of crested. We are in the throes of rookie season, so tonight felt like the appropriate time to revisit the Dynasty rankings. With this episode, we'll be doing a top 24 Dynasty rankings episode pulled from the man himself. His Dynasty rankings available over at theidpshow.com. Going straight down the list of your top 24, Addy. How's this exercise been for you this time of year? There's a lot of data you're kind of having to sort through.
Yeah, it's tough time of year, you know. I mean, you got to constantly update the ranks, and then we got all types of different ranks. We got rookie ranks, we got redraft ranks, we got dynasty ranks. So yeah, constantly juggling all that stuff. It's pretty tough, folks. But I do it for you guys. Love you guys.
We do it for the love of the game, Bobo,
At
as
all
we know.
hours of the day and night.
Yes, right.
Yeah, not sleeping great right now.
Not unusual to see Adam has edited the planning doc at 3:15 a.m.
Yeah, don't have a lot of time for sleep these days.
It's the only time Harms isn't in there, so.
That's true. You
Yeah.
got to get in there and
Sneak
make
around.
the changes while you can.
Yeah, but otherwise, life is good. Loving everything.
That's right. You sound like a man who's loving everything. That is for sure. Well, hopefully you guys' brackets aren't busted, and hopefully if you've got a Dynasty startup draft coming up, this episode will be helpful. Later in the summer, after the draft, we'll be going through top 24 edge rushers, top 24 safeties, and then top 48 linebackers here on YouTube in the podcast feed. So look forward to that. This is just essentially a reset after the end of the 2024 season, after free agency. We're starting to know a little bit about these rookies and probably where they're going to be drafted. And so this is just sort of a precursor to what we're going to be doing later this summer once the rookies are in and things have kind of settled for these teams. So we're just going to basically go player by player. We've got the top 24, like I said, 24 down to 1, and
3 rookies.
3 rookies
In the mix
ranks.
tonight.
How many Dynasty ranking sets out there do you think have 3 rookies in the top 24?
I'd say 0.
I think, folk, you have all. I've always said yours are very much like we are trying to be ahead of the curve. We don't want to be caught flat-footed when the wave comes. Essentially,
It's also not that tough. You know, there's not a lot of people out here updating them like weekly, bi-weekly. I don't think there is anyone.
and when you
that
say
does
bi-weekly, you mean twice a week,
Right.
not every other week.
Sure.
Yeah,
that. No, I mean other people. I don't think there's other people even doing.
yeah.
even-
Bi-weekly may be generous,
You know,
as far as every other week.
So I mean, it's good. I think it's it's helpful for us on the show. It's something I've always wanted. So I was like, well, might as well do it myself.
That's right.
You know?
If you want it done right,
That's right.
do it yourself, Addy.
But yeah, we always got a finger on the pulse, and I think that we're pretty rare as far as that stuff goes.
Yeah, we want you to be ahead of the curve. We don't want you to be caught flat-footed when the wave comes. We want to help you get out ahead of things. So yeah, these rankings are probably going to look different than what you would see elsewhere if you're looking at other consensus Dynasty rankings. And these are available. Like I said, they are featured, pinned on the homepage, theidpshow.com, $5 a month. Best ball rankings are up as well. If you're in a state where FastDraft is live, code IDP Show, $25 deposit match. Get Adam's rankings and get in there and start drafting with us. It's a lot of fun. But boys, let's kick things off here at the top. I'll go through, basically, we have 4 groups of 6, essentially. So I'll read through each little pod here, each little group, and then we'll go one by one talking about these players. But starting with group number 1, at number 24, Kyle Hamilton, safety 2, 24 years old. Number 23, Laiatu Latu, edge 13, 24.2 years old, edge rusher, Indianapolis Colts. Kyle Hamilton, of course, safety, Baltimore Ravens. Number 22, Greg Rousseau, edge 12. He turns 25 in 2 weeks. He's an edge rusher for the Buffalo Bills. And then number 21, Brian Burns, edge 11, 26.9 years old, edge rusher, New York Giants. And Dallas Turner, edge 10, 22.1 years old for the Minnesota Vikings. And Nick Bolton, LB8, 25 years old, just re-signed with the Kansas City Chiefs. And to round out this first group, Terrel Bernard, LB7, 25.9 years old, of the Buffalo Bills. So that is 24 down through 18. Let's start back up at the top. Kyle Hamilton, your safety 2. Addy, this is, we'll see the safety one, but my big question coming out of 2024 with Kyle Hamilton is the usage, right? We saw him playing a lot more deep safety, and I think the Ravens draft this year is going to be very important for how Kyle Hamilton gets deployed. Listening to a lot of these like Dane Brugler, I know you're kind of more plugged in with DJ Bobo. I'm curious if he said anything about the Ravens' plans. But listening to a lot of these guys who cover the draft, they talk a lot about the Ravens, picking kind of near the back of the draft, taking like a Jahdae Barron or someone like that, some sort of DB presence who can help get Kyle Hamilton back down in the box to be a menace around the line of scrimmage. So I think this is a pretty important draft specifically for Kyle Hamilton and where he'll be deployed in this Baltimore Ravens defense this season.
Yeah, I think it could affect him a little bit, but not enough to where I'm really too concerned. I still think he's just an awesome option for you at safety, and he's a guy that's going to be around until, he's probably 34,
right.
35. He'll be like a Harrison Smith type, right? Just playing forever, probably living inside the top 20 as far as finishes goes for safeties. So that's what he's done the last 2 years. Safety 15 in points per game in 2024, safety 2 in points per game in 2023. And then PFF grades have been elite. 90.1 overall PFF grade in 2024, 84.7 in 2023, and then 82.3 in 2022. All 3 of those years were inside the top 10 for defensive backs. So
you know who he kind of reminds me of? I think he's going to age like Fred Warner. Yeah. He is not a guy who's necessarily going to be threatening for safety 1 every single season he's not like a Foye or a Zaire, but Fred is always in that top 15 mix, and that's what we've seen from Kyle Hamilton his last 2 seasons, safety 3, safety 11. I think he's always going to be in that top 12, assuming health. Yeah. And then grade-wise, that's going to allow him to stay on the field and stay relevant for a long time.
And that's what I'm looking for in Dynasty, a guy that I don't got to worry about. I can just keep him in the lineup. He's always going to be, he's going to have the upside to finish as a top safety every single week. And then, I don't really ever see him, finishing outside of the top 20, for the rest of his career.
Right.
So, good asset.
I would maybe even argue to go and get Kyle Hamilton right now because I think that there's a world where maybe some of these mocks are wrong. I mean, we just saw Chris Board and Malik Harrison leaving free agency. And, I mean, as much as we like Trenton Simpson, Clemson has been hit not only, today in the NCAA tournament, but our boy Barrett Carter ran a pretty slow 40, not really confirmed as to what time it was, but
never good.
Pretty close to the 4.6s is what it looks like. But, I mean, I'm not so sure that in the first round, maybe the Ravens don't go grab a linebacker.
Could be.
It would.
Can you imagine them with Jihaad Campbell?
Yeah, or even maybe like
be sick.
One of these outside linebackers that has the ability to, potentially rush as well. So I think this could be a nice little maybe buy Kyle Hamilton window. If people are a little scared that he might get replaced or whatever.
Disappointing season.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the usage stuff is a little overblown.
For sure.
They're going to let him do what he does best, and that's play slot, play box. He's never going to just be like a free safety. Yeah. And that's just, I don't really think that fits
I don't think
his
they
game.
want him to be a roaming free safety.
For sure.
But they've lost a lot of guys that they've had there for a while. A couple of the linebackers, right? Board's gone.
Yep. Harrison's gone.
We'll see about Trenton Simpson. He had a really disappointing 2024.
Simpson feels like one of those guys we're going to keep trying to hold the candle for, and it's just over, and we don't know it yet. Yeah. So
let me get us into this next little group, Josh, because I want to hear what you have to say about some of these guys. So, Adam, I'll give you a little bit of credit here early on in the episode.
It's the only credit you're getting, though.
These are the only Dynasty ranks where you're going to see a guy like Dallas Turner in the top. He's top 20. He's the overall 20 right here. So we've got Latu, who is going into his second year. He's 24 years old. We have Greg Rousseau, who is 25 years old. We have Brian Burns, who's almost 27. And here we have Dallas Turner, who's 22 years old. So, it's just really interesting to see the process behind the man that is Adam over there.
The man that is.
You've got Brian Burns here,
That was.
a second year in New York's defense. What's that going to look like? Is he going to get any better? He's 27 years old, but yet you've got right ahead of him a guy like Dallas Turner who really didn't do anything last year. But you gotta be able to see forward. You know,
Yep.
you got to be able to see
Project.
behind you. You can't have a bunch of 33-year-olds, Khalil Mack's in your top 24. But at the same time, too, you got to be able to see, look, the path is opening here for a guy like Dallas Turner.
It's all about runway.
Yeah.
You have to realize when there's still plenty of runway for these guys, not just in the NFL, but as far as IDP relevance. And you have to realize, too, when the runway has run out. I kind of wonder if we were hit that point with Trenton Simpson we just talked about. Laiatu Latu, I think there's still plenty of runway left to go. And I think this is going to be an important season. Dayo Odiengbo gone to Chicago. Samson Ambuchan, is he going to be cut? If he sticks around, I mean, what kind of role is Laiatu Latu going to carve out alongside him and contract year Kwity Paye? Don't forget about this. Playing under a new DC in Lou Anarumo. Have you guys ever wanted the edge 3 from the Bengals? No. It has always been.
Latu's not the edge 3.
Now, that is the question. That is what I want to see because I didn't think he was going to be the edge 3 behind Kwity Paye and Dayo Odengbo in year 1, and he was. Now, I am still hopeful for Latu as a Colts fan. Missing out on Jared Verse obviously stings. The stupid Chris Ballard comment rings in my head. But we did expect a lot more in 2024 than for him to be outscored by the likes of Kayvon Chason. So for me, I am more looking at these edge rushers just take time. Year 2, year 3. I kind of see this as a year 3 play because I do think if Ebicam sticks around, he is probably, like it or not, at least to start the season, going to be in the top of the edge rushing rotation with Kwity Paye. But, yeah, Latu, bright future ahead. I just wonder what it's going to look like in 2025. I know you're more optimistic.
Yeah, we've been talking about Latu a lot lately with the I've predicted 14, 15 sacks, I think.
We're 14.
We're creeping up.
Yeah. So, I'm a believer. I mean, the metrics weren't bad. 14% pass rush win rate last season. That was 26th best among edge rushers. 72.1 pass rush grade. That was 29th best. 10.1% pressure rate. That was 78th among 188 qualifying edge rushers. There was a lot, I think, that he obviously has to do, to bump up in most people's ranks. But for me, like, I saw flashes. The metrics are good enough. The draft capital was super high. I can't just get out on these guys because they have a slow start, right? Like, you got to have some conviction. I liked Latu a lot. I liked all these edge rushers. We like Turner. We like Latu. We like Verse. So, I mean, I can't just be out on them, because they have a slow start. Because I still, there's flashes there. It just was we've seen this a lot with a lot of different guys like Jalen Phillips. That's the
great
comp that we've kind of had for Latu. Like, same type thing. He didn't start out on fire or anything. Wasn't putting up crazy sack numbers, but the underlying metrics were good, and the role increased every single year.
And that could be the kind of career path we see for Laiatu Latu here, is following in Jalen's footsteps. When you were really ahead of the pack in terms of like Jalen's second season, and then of course since then it's been derailed by multiple injuries, but there was no doubt that he had that breakout that really, I don't want to say nobody saw coming. I think we were all a little hopeful for, but you just can't expect a lot out of these guys as rookies, Bobo, even if they go first round. Unless you're Jared Verse. Hey, we get those guys occasionally. I mean, you know, guys drafted at the top of the first round, like your Nick Bosa's and Myles Garrett's. Those guys tend to hit the ground running. But
yeah, I'll get the most heat, I think, for Latu and Turner. And we can talk about Turner. We'll just go ahead and jump down.
I was going to say, before we get into Turner, you've got them sandwiched around Greg Rousseau and Brian Burns here.
And I also want to mention, I have all these guys worth the exact same as far as trade value goes.
Yeah, so don't. I was going to ask.
I'm not going to argue with you
how do you parse it out? Obviously, we are splitting hairs here, and that's an important point to remember. Is like just the fact that Latu is 23 and Turner is 20 doesn't mean there's like a big gulf between 20 and 23. I'm just
22.
curious.
He's 22.
Oh, sorry, 22.
Latu's 24.
Okay.
Along with Verse.
Super old.
So, no, I was talking about the actual ranking here for these guys.
Gotcha,
Yeah,
sorry.
so there is not a big gulf between the 20th ranked player and the 23rd ranked player here in Latu. But I am curious, just your process, how do you tease these guys out? Because I was having to do a little bit of that when I was prepping for this episode of like Roquan and Fred. I was really like splitting the finest of hairs with these guys. And I'm just curious, as you rank Brian Burns versus Dallas Turner, a guy in Dallas Turner that hasn't really done anything versus Brian Burns, who had a great year in 2024. What factors like weigh the heaviest for you?
Just upside, really, at that point. Upside, youth. I feel, we've seen Brian Burns. He's been solid and very, very good. But his ceiling
It's kind of been down.
His ceiling seems like 14, 15 points per
I was
game.
literally looking at that. So you look at Nick Bosa, he's got some 15 points average seasons. You look at Maxx Crosby, last year 15.6. Myles Garrett, 16.5. So the last couple of years, we've always kind of wanted Brian Burns to enter that category, and he never has.
Right.
So that's why he's down here.
He's just that
valuable.
He's that second tier edge rusher,
Correct.
right? You have this kind of like top 5 or 6, and then you have a guy like a Brian Burns who's like firmly in that second category with guys like Greg Rousseau, Josh Hines Allen, that sort of group.
Right. He's more like, I like to have more like a edge 2.
Right, exactly. He is a supercharged edge 2. I don't
think so.
He's a guy I do not feel comfortable having as my edge 1.
And I don't know like how long it's going to last for him,
Yeah.
Whereas like Dallas Turner, I just feel like, man, that guy, once he hits,
Yeah.
it could be pretty special.
Well, and the difference, like you said, I think the reason we see Turner ranked higher than Latu here, even though Latu went earlier in last year's draft, is the age.
2 years younger.
The age, also the injury concerns with Latu.
Also the college. I mean, Dallas Turner was kind of a freak in college.
Yeah.
He had a little Abdul Carter kind of presence to him. I mean, there was a lot of hype behind Dallas Turner. I think if you were to give me these 4 guys, I'm putting them in the exact same category, Adam. Dallas Turner because he's youngest, and there's also a ton of hype. There's no injury concern. They just moved on from Pat Jones. DJ Wanham's gone.
And I think we expected Dallas Turner not to do much in 2024.
Said it a lot.
Because
Said
Van
it a
Ginkel
ton.
and Grenard, they made investments in these guys. So even if you like Dallas Turner and you think he has potential, you have to understand the team is not going to roll this guy out there year 1 unless one of these 2 dudes gets hurt, and they didn't.
And Brian Burns, we've kind of always wanted to turn into like Daniil Hunter. He just has never really taken that step yet. And then Rousseau is kind of a little Brian Burns light. He's
see
he's
those
had good
2
seasons,
dudes very similar.
But Rousseau also hasn't taken a big step, to put up a 15 sack season.
Right. Has Burns been over 10 sacks yet? Maybe once.
Maybe one time.
Rousseau, same thing. It's
Exactly.
just like, that's the difference,
Yeah.
right? I'm not sure the ceiling is that great for those type guys.
And
The ceiling is really high edge 2.
Yes.
I don't think guys like Rousseau and Burns have that like top 3 to 4 edge seasons in them.
I feel
Like you're not scaring anybody when you roll out Rousseau or which no shade. Again, these are top 24.
Or
Yeah, they're
Shades.
good. But when I see Rousseau or a Brian Burns as your edge 1, I'm like, your linebackers better be sick.
Yes.
Because that's where you probably prioritized early in your draft. So, but what about Rousseau? Just got the bag, got re-signed this offseason, extended by the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah,
that was good to see.
He's a good player, man. He's gotten better every single year. PFF grades are really, really good. Pressure rate, all that stuff is what we want. And then the snaps finally went up. 71% of the snaps last season, so that was by far the
That's
most.
what we've been asking for forever, because it was always just, frustratingly low snap percentages for Greg Rousseau.
Yeah, and so I don't feel like that's going to get any less. I feel like he's going to be in that 70 to 75, and especially now they've
not
paid him.
not after they just paid him the money that they did.
So yeah, he's a fun player, good player, someone that I liked a lot coming out of I guess that was the 2021 class.
Yep. I think so.
But yeah, Rousseau, good player, gotten better every single year. Still young. Like I was surprised. This dude's like what, 24, 25?
25.
Yeah,
So
turns 25 in 2 weeks. So feels like a guy that should be 26, 27.
Yeah,
with
right.
how long he's been in the league. So yeah, he was drafted in. I'm looking him up right now. looks like he was drafted, Wikipedia, help me out here, in the 2021 season. Yep. He was first round 30th pick in 2021.
And he's ended up, outside of Parsons, I think he was in that same class, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But Rousseau's probably ended up the best. Now, Phillips has had the injury stuff, but he's ended up probably the best edge rusher outside of Parsons.
Rousseau was pretty free then, too.
And to be able to get Rousseau like the Bills did at the back of the first round, I mean, you see just a lot of busts going in this round, like Marcus Davenport and Joe Tryon-Shoyinka kind of going in this 30s range. So, yeah, to be able to get a guy like that late in the first round like they did, the Bills have to be pretty thrilled. I mean, they gave this guy a 4-year, $80 million extension.
Was that the Trayvon Walker year?
No, that was 2022.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you see the little trade that Jacksonville's considering kind of floating him out there? You see
Was
today?
that
Trayvon?
rumored or?
Yeah, that they're like taking offers or whatever. You know, hearing offers.
I don't know why they do that.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's like Trayvon's actually been fine. I mean,
Yeah, he's been better than Josh
Yeah,
Allen.
he's still
kinda.
super young. He's,
right.
same
You
thing.
take
He's getting better
this
every year.
guy for what he's going to be in year 4, 5, and 6 for you.
Yeah.
But I will say that new GM came in there and just cleaned house. I mean, they really took a machete to the Jaguars roster there.
Trayvon Walker, edge 19,
I guess it's worth, seeing what you get for Trayvon.
for sure. Before you got to pay him.
I just wonder what another team would be willing to pay for him.
Second round pick.
And that's just like, man, that's not.
I'd rather just hold him.
Yeah.
I'd spit the 101 on him. You know?
for real.
You're about to have to spend a bag on him, though.
I mean,
But you got to spend that money somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, like him and Josh Allen, as far as like pass rushers for an NFL team, it's pretty good.
like you have
do way
other
worse.
issues. Like
Keep adding to it.
Yeah.
But that's
as far as
They started a
101s
really good
goes,
round.
there's a lot worse you could do than Trayvon Walker at the 101.
Agreed.
So, yes, you have Brian Burns, Greg Rousseau here at 22, Rousseau, and then 21 for Brian Burns. And then number 20, let's talk Dallas Turner, Addy, because this is your boy. Pat Jones, gone. Grenard and Van Ginkel still there. Brian Flores still there. Your boys are rolling with J.J. McCarthy. I think that's the right decision. I would not bring Aaron Rodgers into this mix. But Dallas Turner, I don't know why. I would expect a little bit bigger role for him in 2025, but not. I'm still expecting Van Ginkel and Grenard to be the two main guys there.
Yeah, for sure. Like Pat Jones played 46% of the snaps last season, so like you expect him somewhere around that probably.
Right.
60% would be optimistic, I think, for Dallas Turner. So yeah, you're still going to have to be patient, I think, for Dallas. Like he's not going to be someone you're really going to be able to rely on probably next season. So if you are a scared little boy or girl out there, like you can get out, I think, assuming you still get a good return. But like I'd try and get back in, at some point, because he is coming. Like the dude is just, I think he's going to be special. Like it passes the eye test. Like long, super fast, super bendy. Then he has a good motor. Like I think that'll be a good thing for him. So like tackles could be nice for him. He could have a nice floor, but then like the sack upside is there too. He's 22, man. He's 22, and he is buried behind two of the best edge rushers in the league. And,
Right.
So you're just gonna have to be patient, but his time eventually is going to come. Van Ginkel, his contract expires after this year. So, I mean, I imagine Minnesota's going to do everything they can to bring him back. But
If he plays well again, he might price himself out of their
that could happen.
price range.
That could happen. And then, yeah, I mean, players get hurt. Like there's a Grenard struggle with health throughout his career. So, I mean, there's a chance that like hopefully that doesn't happen. But I mean, it's the NFL, dude. That's how it goes. Like he can find ways on the field, but either way, I think we're at least going to see 50%. I think he's going to double his sacks, which he had 3 last year, so I'd expect like somewhere in the 6 to 8 range. But again, just continue to flash. This time next year he'll be 23. It's just like he's still so freaking young. He's still got so much upside.
Because we could say year 3 is when it feels like it really comes together for him if they don't re-sign Van Ginkel. But year 4, year 5 is kind of what, like, I know it's crazy. Just like if you got a taxi squad, throw this guy in your taxi squad because I don't know how much you're going to get out of him this year, barring injury to one of those top 2 guys. And even in the 2026 season, he'll be 24 years old.
Right.
That's how old Latu is right now. So it's like, I think coming in as young as he did, we just got to be patient with Dallas Turner.
That's what we preached from the beginning with him. Just you got to be patient. You can't be scared. And also, like, that's like, why do you want to play that way? Why do you want to play like where your guy doesn't validate you immediately? Let's get rid of him. Like, come on, dude.
What are you proving there?
Right. Like, it's I like to believe in guys. Also, like, I'm a fan of upside.
Well, upside is what wins championships.
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, really, like, keeping him up this high is also just like, hey, don't forget about this dude.
Right.
Right. Like, if you're in your startups, like this, he's going to be sliding. Like, it's a perfect time to like get in a startup because you can get values on guys like Dallas Turner, Latu. We were helping out a guy the other day with his startup, and I was looking at some of the values, and like Dallas Turner went in the 17th round.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, oh my God, I need to get it started.
Don't do another startup. Can't do it. Too many leagues.
But that's really what I'm doing here with these ranks is I always tell people, like, fade IDP and like come back to these ranks, like load up your offense, like get your offense like stout, like add some depth to it, and then use the ranks to find, the guys that have fallen.
Because guys will fall.
And guys like Dallas Turner,
Right.
Latu, like all these guys that don't hit immediately, they're going to fall. And we could look up in 2 years and both those guys are like top 6 edge rushers.
Yep, absolutely. Got to be patient, but when it pays off, I think it'll pay off handsomely, just from what we've seen thus far and what we believe about these two players. Nick Bolton, Bobo, LB8, 25 years old. He was LB7 in 2022, LB46 in 2023, but was banged up. And then LB15 in 2024. Again, this by points per game, 13.9 in 24, 11 points per game in 23, 16 points per game in 2022. Just re-signed with the Kansas City Chiefs. Has your outlook at all for Nick, has it changed at all for Nick Bolton now going back to Kansas City?
Yeah, it's gotten a little worse, honestly. Now you have another year of Drew Tranquill. You have another year of Leo Chenal. Sure, they did re-sign Nick Bolton, and Bolton plays a lot of snaps. But look at the PFF numbers. The PFF numbers are a little bit concerning. 2021, 69 overall. 2022 was his outlier year. He had 180 combined tackles. He had 9 TFLs. I think he had a couple of picks also. Yeah, 2 interceptions.
He also played 1,118 snaps.
16 points per game in 2022. I'm not sure if he was the LB1 that year, but he had to have been pretty close.
LB4 in total points.
There we go. Thank you, Adam. So he had a 75 PFF grade in 2022. 2023, we get back to 69.2, and then 2024, 65 overall defensive grade. He has a tackling grade of 56 and a pass rush grade of 51. Coverage grade of 66. I don't know, man. I just don't know that Bolton is really trending in that upward trajectory that we're really looking for.
I think around this table, I think in the marketplace, Nick Bolton is going to be
viewed
skyrocketing up rankings and draft boards for folks.
Because, I mean, I had him probably a little – I don't think he was inside the top 24 before signing back with Kansas City.
I think if this was strictly what Adam thinks and Adam's, like, heart, Nick Bolton is probably outside the top 15 dynasty linebackers. But your ranking here –
1,500.
Yeah, 15,000 reflects the market in large part.
Yeah, everybody loves Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton's got a second-round ADP right now on FastDraft. So
if he had not re-signed with the Chiefs, do you think he gets the kind of money that he got from on the open market?
I wouldn't have thought so.
I don't think the market was that robust. I'm really surprised the Chiefs gave him that contract.
Yeah, I was as well.
Good
job by his agent.
He is really young. He's 25 years old, and he just signed his second deal.
And the Chiefs love Nick Bolton. This is just one of those examples where the team loves a guy more than the public loves a guy.
Look at that tackling grade, though. 83 to a 89 to a 65 to a 56. And you're a linebacker.
3 years, $45 million. There is no way in hell Nick Bolton gets that contract on the open market.
So my question is, are we just going to continue to see this muddled bit of, linebacker play from Nick Bolton, or could it get worse? I mean, could we trend along like the Zach Cunningham, archetype?
He is just a guy I'm going to be fading just because the where the value proposition is flipped, where I think where he is being drafted, you mentioned second round ADP on FastDraft right now, and you see the finishes the past 3 years in total points, LB4 and then LB74 and LB14. I think he is a fine like LB2, but he has never ever been drafted as an LB2, and that's the issue. Is that the value proposition is just upside down for Nick Bolton?
Yeah, but he's he's the defense. He's a defensive leader for this team. I mean, they did pay him pretty well. Also, Tranquil, I think he's got maybe 1 year left, and then Leo Chenal, same thing. Like I think someone's going to actually pay him some big bucks, and they'll probably be filled with regret.
The Chiefs will.
Old men
filled with regret.
So yeah, I mean, I think it was actually pretty good for Bolton just to stay, in a defense that he's familiar with.
He's LB8 right now by FastDraft's ADP.
Bolton and Chris Jones are pretty much the two guys they want to hold on to there.
Is good.
I don't want to crap on Bolton. It's just this is one of those instances where he's just not a guy where the hype and the production match up. Right. The hype has always outstripped the production. And I'm just not going to have Nick Bolton on any of my teams.
Same. Yeah, he's just too expensive. And again, he's never finished inside the top. Well, he hasn't finished inside the top 15 the last 2 seasons. But again, he's getting drafted probably linebacker 5 to 7, I'd say.
Nobody can quit 2022.
That's right. It's a hell of a drug. This next guy, though, is one that I will be taking a lot in drafts, Terrel Bernard. LB7 right now, was LB5 in 2023 in points per game, LB3 in total points. A little banged up last year, 12.3 points per game, LB40 by total points. What I like, though, Bobo, they just extended Terrel Bernard. And did you see this? Reworked Matt Milano's contract so that he's essentially a free agent next year. So they are saying, handsome one, we love you, but this is the end of the road. This is our final hurrah together. Terrel Bernard, you are our linebacker of the future.
They took a year away from Milano, didn't they?
Right, yes.
So
he will now be a free agent after this season.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I don't really roster Bernard anywhere. I don't know why. The ADP is fine. The production is fine. I mean, you look at 16.5 points per game in 23, and then 12.3 in 24 is a little bit down, but still super young. Is going to be probably maybe not the green dot there this year with Milano, but is going to play a ton of snaps. I don't know. Bernard is fine. He's just honestly just a guy that I've kind of avoided over the years.
Going as LB22 right now by FastDraft's ADP.
Production-wise, he's like a bit like Fred Warner.
Yeah.
He's not going to give you like crazy tackle totals. Kind of relies more on big plays.
Yeah.
But he seems to make them.
Quite the opposite from Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton can get some tackles, but he's not going to do anything else.
Correct. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think that was a good contract for him.
Yeah, 4 years, $42 million, 23.8 guaranteed.
So no worries there. The 24 guaranteed though. I mean, that they could get out of it pretty quickly, it seems.
Yeah, I'll be curious now with restructuring Milano. I'd say that Bernard is safe there for at least the next 2 years.
Yeah, I think so.
So, and the LB2 there is...
and how many linebackers can you really say that about?
Yeah.
There's not a lot.
Yeah, I want guys that I can, bank on. Like, I think he could be secure there for the next 3 years, but I feel very confident in the next 2 years. And that's not something we can say about a lot of linebackers.
I'd trade both of these guys, though. If I could get a little profit,
I would trade
move on from
away Nick Bolton and go get Terrel Bernard. Like, if I could do just a Bolton for Bernard plus, I would do that. Because I think Nick Bolton.
Will you trade? You trade a second? Would you trade a second in this draft
for Terrel Bernard?
Yeah.
Nah, it's a little too rich.
So you're hoping to get him for a third?
Maybe 2/3. I might do a 26 second.
Right now, Addy, you have a second and a third.
That's probably a little rich.
I don't know.
I just don't think the market values Terrel Bernard. I think he is one of the most slept-on linebackers in all of IDP. I'm not saying he's like a locked for like top 12, but I think he's going to be in that like 10 to 15 range.
And probably relevant.
Assuming health.
Yeah, and probably relevant until he's like 30.
Right.
I will say, in regards to picks, this year is different because there's going to be so many people trying to just throw these running back darts forever through the first couple rounds that you can't really say like, well, I think I'd do a second this year, because really most years is probably like a third, in my opinion. I just feel like you've got so many people that are going to try to find Jack Batch.
Jack Batch.
You know, they're going to
Hey, yo, Maynard.
You're going to be out here drafting Scatabo. You're going to be out here trying to grab Devin Neal. There's going to be so many offensive pieces that I don't know.
That's what you should do, by the way.
It's a little skewed.
Do not trade away your picks for any of these IDPs.
Nope.
We need to put a disclaimer on this. Do not do that, folks.
Correct.
Yes.
Find the
Go
IDPs
get
on the
Scatabo.
waivers. Like
Right.
that's the most fun way to play.
Yeah.
You know, get these studs, these guys that become studs,
And that's
get
why
them for free.
That's why I think the two biggest buys of the night are probably Latu and Turner. You know, because whoever drafted them last year has a lot of equity in them. They drafted them probably pretty high. And whenever you draft people high, they're just itching to put them in the starting roster. They just can't wait.
Could you get those
Put
guys
'em
for a
in there.
third right now?
I think so.
I think you could.
I think
I
so.
think that's
100%.
exactly what you do. You
You gotta
circle
try
back,
it. Try it at least.
try to
Throw it out there.
hone in on people's impatience and go and see if you
Well,
can.
or trade during the draft.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the Sigmund Bloom trick, where it's like the peak value for those picks is going to be when the clock is ticking.
Absolutely.
And the Dallas Turner manager is sitting there, and they don't have a pick maybe in the third round, or the Latu manager doesn't, and you're like, hey, you want to get in this round and
Yeah.
scoop up some of these guys that are falling?
They're like, hey, yeah, you want to pivot to Mike Green or something?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the move, man. Because, you know, if heaven forbid there was Latu, he could just come out and ball. Like, he didn't really have anyone in his path, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, if Turner's going to need some help, but I mean, if Turner, you know, did get opportunity via injury or something and like went out here and just tore it up, like, you will never get him again for a third round pick. Not until he's like in his 30s.
Right, exactly. So now is the time. If you want to try, there aren't a lot of like buy low windows for guys inside the top 24 of dynasty rankings. I think there are some buy low windows for
Yes.
these guys. But let's move to group 2, fellas, and let's talk about some linebackers here. I think it's funny that you have these two guys back to back, Addy. 17, Jack Campbell, LB6, 24.6 years old, Detroit Lions, and then Jihaad Campbell, the other Campbell bro, LB5, 21.1 years old, a rookie in this incoming class. Zack Baun, LB4, 28.2 years old, just re-signed with the Philadelphia
What a
Eagles.
world.
Right, and then TJ Watt, edge 9, 30.5 years old, of the Pittsburgh Steelers, edge rusher. And then Edgerrin Cooper, LB3, 23.4 years old, Green Bay Packers, sitting there as number 13 overall. So let's jump back up to the top and we've talked a lot about these rookies. We've talked a lot about Zack Baun. Jack Campbell is one that I kind of approached the prep for this episode as like, what are some questions that I have about these players? And for me, with Jack Campbell, I went back and looked at his snaps, because that was always the bugaboo with Jack Campbell, is like, how can this guy not unseat Alex Anzalone? But Jack Campbell played 100% of snaps in 9 games last year, including the final 7 games of the season. He played above 90% in 3 other games. So that makes him a full-time linebacker, right? Well, Alex Anzalone played 100% of snaps in 5 of his 10 games, and he missed that chunk of the season when Campbell ascended to 100% of snaps. When they shared the field in Week 18 against Minnesota, Anzalone played 98.5% of the snaps. The team also brought back Derek Barnes on a healthy deal. So my question is, are we about to get rug pulled on Jack Campbell, or is he the LB1 in Detroit?
I think he's the LB1, but I don't think he's playing 100% of the snaps. You know, he's going to play over 90. Also, you know, with the stuff you're talking about to finish the year, like Derek Barnes wasn't out there, you know, and Malcolm Rodriguez also tore his ACL.
Yeah.
So Derek Barnes is back. I think Rodriguez is still hanging out there in free agency. Mm-hmm. But anyway,
Surprised they haven't brought. They love Rodrigo. Surprised they haven't brought him back.
they probably will. He'll be cheap. But yeah, I mean, you know, I still have a lot of hope for Campbell. I think that he's going to lead the linebackers in snap share. It'll be him and Anzalone. I think Anzalone plays like 85 to 90. And then I think Campbell's like 90 to 95.
Yeah, it's funny. 44 overall, FastDraft's ADP, which check this out, y'all, fastdraft.app. They have the ADP up there now. 44 overall, Alex Anzalone. 45 overall, Jack Campbell. So these guys going back-to-back in the ADP.
I mean, Anzalone will probably outproduce him again next season.
Probably.
You know? But, Yeah, I mean, Campbell's still just 24.6.
I think it stings
Year
because
3.
he's a first-round linebacker, and we just had, Detroit, like, this is great. But, like, for his, the rookie season was disappointing. Like, don't get me wrong. LB 69 in points per game, not very nice. And LB 55 in total points. And last year was fine. He was LB 31 by total points, LB 44 in points per game. So it's not like it's been awful, like he's been a total bust. But I think he's left a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths who had high hopes.
Yeah, the big plays definitely are lacking. We need to see him pick that up. And hopefully that comes. But, yeah, I mean, he could just be one of those guys where it's like, I'm just going to give you tackles and then maybe like a sack, like a Tremaine Edmonds type. God, I hope not.
Oh, man.
But, I mean, that's what, the production looks like so far. But PFF, really, really good. 77.4 overall PFF grade last year. That was 9th among linebackers. So that was up from his 57.3 in 2023. 2.9 average depth of tackle. That was 20th among linebackers. Also, the Terrel Bernard was actually best on this list for that stat. Average depth of tackle. Words are hard tonight.
Words are very hard.
He was 5th in average depth of tackle. Terrel Bernard. But yeah, Jack Campbell, man, he's still a good piece. There's not a lot of linebackers that you feel good about long term, or also that you feel like will get better year after year. I think Jack Campbell is one of those types, though.
Bobo, I think Adam just scared the hell out of me comparing Jack Campbell to Tremaine Edmonds. Now I can't get that comp out of my head. It kind of tracks, man. Like first-round pedigree, young, like good landing spot. Like how high were those? How sky high were those expectations for Tremaine Edmonds early in his career? And he's just settled in as a $16 million a year LB2 for both the Bears and for our IDP rosters.
I mean, I do think that tonight we're going to talk a lot about patience. I mean, obviously with like Dallas Turner and Laiatu Latu, but I mean, there does get to be a point to where there's too much patience. You can wait too long for a guy. And at that point, they're just a roster clog or a bad start. How many times have you started Jack Campbell that he's not going to goose egg you, but he's not going to put up that probably round one rookie pick production that you were really hoping for. So, I don't know. I'm not riding the ship for Jack Campbell either because there is a lot of moving parts there in Detroit. But it's a little worrisome.
The fly in the ointment is just Alex Anzalone. I mean, would it surprise you all at all to see that what you just said, the snap share flipped, and Anzalone be the 90 to 95% guy?
Not at all.
And Jack Campbell be the 85 to 90% guy?
Yeah, no, it's just a weird team. They do weird stuff. They don't care about draft capital. They almost probably hate people with high draft capital.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you shouldn't take linebackers or running backs in the first round. Watch us do both. Mm-hmm. Watch us do both. Yeah, I think I just don't want to get left holding the bag on Jack Campbell. Mm-hmm. We're not out on Jack Campbell, but it's just one of those things where I do wonder if the production is ever going to catch up with the expectations. And I think the answer to that at this point, kind of trying to project forward, is no. Now, we'll see what happens with Alex Anzalone. Maybe that's the key here. It's like once Anzalone's off this team, it's like wheels up for Jack Campbell. Or they draft another rookie linebacker in the first round, and we're right back in this same situation.
I saw where today there was somebody throwing Jihaad Campbell, the next guy we're talked to the Lions.
Right, like I think he is the axe that is going to come, slicing down on someone's head from one of our IDP rosters. Like, is it, going to kill off Trenton Simpson with the Baltimore Ravens? Is it going to, endanger Jack Campbell with the Detroit Lions? Like, who is the linebacker that is going to be done in by the Jihaad Campbell first-round pick?
Yeah,
we'll see.
I hope it's not Jack Campbell. That would not be great. But sorry to scare everyone with the Tremaine Edmonds stuff. Let's say Eric Kendricks, also a guy that started out kind of slow stat-wise, and he saw that pickup as he got older. So
now, here's the thing. Tremaine Edmonds' comp, he has been fine. Like, he has been – now –
he's gotten worse almost every single year, I think.
He has, but it's like he's still a usable piece for IDP.
Yeah, he's a linebacker 3 or 4.
Right. Like, I think our expectations were just out of whack for Tremaine Edmonds. And I think that's where we may have to adjust with Jack Campbell.
Same thing with Tremaine, though. Tremaine's still young as hell. I think he's probably like 26.
He's still, like, I think, 22 years old.
Yeah, he could have a fine, like, you know, ender. We see that a lot with these guys. Like, he could be a nice little solid vet at some point and be, like, okay fantasy. Like, be the best he's ever been fantasy-wise. Like, that could happen for him.
It could happen. It's in his range of outcomes.
Sure. Might.
We never imagined that in Zack Baun's range of outcomes was an LB top 5 LB finish, but here we are. He is sitting as LB4 by Adams ranks right now, 28.2 years old, just re-signed. I think it was a 3-year, $51 million deal with the Eagles. So we have security with Baun that few other LBs have in the form of that fat contract and the PFF grades telling us that he's an actual good linebacker. It's really just him and Fred Warner in that regard in terms of well-paid and consistently scoring like blue and green on the PFF grade. So for Dynasty, I think this is where he belongs, locked in, top 5 LB. And I do agree with Adam that for redraft, I think you said he's your LB1 right now.
Yes.
For redraft. But do you want to draft him at his current ADP of 111, LB2? Because here's the thing that we have to confront right now is we're past that feel-good period for Zack Baun managers where you scooped him up off of waivers and you rode him to a title. Now for redraft and best ball, you have to pay sticker price for Zack Baun. So what's our comfort level doing that this year?
Yeah, I'm fine. Like, you know, typically if you're drafting him at the end of the first round, like you're just deciding like maybe you're deciding like how you're going to build. You're going to go linebacker heavy and just kick it off with a stud linebacker like Baun. But yeah, I'm perfectly fine with the ADP. Like I think he's, you know, the way he scores, like he's a dude that gets a ton of tackles, and then he can get some sacks. Like he has, you know, a little bit of Luvu in him. So I mean that's like a perfect piece. Like he's more like consistent like than Luvu.
And you look at too the edge rushers that go after him. It's like Danielle Hunter, Van Ginkel, Bernard, Brian Burns, Highsmith, Abdul Carter. Like, we like a lot of those guys, but I'm absolutely going Zack Baun. It's just, do you like him as opposed to the other linebackers? Like Zaire Franklin's going off the board as the 8th overall pick. So he's not typically in that discussion where Zack Baun is being taken. But
so he's going linebacker 1, Zaire.
Zaire's linebacker 1, Zack Baun, LB2. Roquan Smith at the 12th overall pick is LB3. Fred Warner, LB4 at 13 overall, and then TJ Edwards, Frankie Luvu, Quincy Williams after that in the second round.
How many years
Quincy
now?
Williams.
Right, love. Hey, is that you driving that ADP up?
How many years now has it felt like that Roquan and Fred were just the only linebackers that you were just sure of?
Oh, 5.
You know, like even the guys.
How many more years will we feel that way?
Even
Another
the guys,
5?
Yeah, that we're talking about tonight. I mean, Baun, Campbell, Bolton, Bernard. You know, even going later on, Frankie Luvu, getting a little bit older, Zaire Franklin. There's just not a lot of linebackers outside of Fred Warner. And even Roquan Smith has been a little down over the last year or two. But, I mean, it's just it's a weird position. It's a weird position. It's very up and down.
It's
very,
just
very hard.
The NFL not for long motto, I feel like, really applies for running backs and linebackers.
Yeah.
Just don't get too attached to these guys because it schemes, defensive coordinators turnover. Like half the league turns over their defensive coordinators every season, and schemes change, and you know these guys just get replaced quickly in the draft because they don't cost a premium draft pick. So that's why you see, I think, so much turnover.
Well, I mean, that's what I saw somebody tweet this week. That's why you see these teams drafting quarterbacks, O-line, D-line, and wide receivers, because those are the guys that get paid. And then they're going to send their running backs, linebackers, and defensive backs to the free agency, and they'll just figure it out.
What position did we see? Now, weirdly, all these guys got re-signed, but what position did you see most well-represented in free agency? It was linebacker.
Yeah.
I mean, the cream of the crop was by far linebacker. So,
yeah. Because no one wants to retain them.
Yeah. Right, even though they all did.
Yeah.
And I kind of wonder if that's shifting now.
Well, I think with the cap going up, that helped a lot too. And then a lot of those teams were just in kind of weird spots. Like, again, there wasn't a lot of talent out there to be had. So it's I think that kind of like, you know, squeezed these teams.
Because there is kind of that line that you want to tread a little bit. We talked about the Dalton scale a little bit last week in terms of which linebacker was it?
I think it was
Jermaine Pratt.
I can't remember who it was. Maybe Josie Jewell or something like that. Or I'd have to go back and look.
But as far as like an NFL team is concerned, the Rams were on the opposite side of that last year. They got a little bit too cute with Ernest, and you rolled out Roseboom and Spates all year, and I think that was a regret. But then you've got the other side of things to where these teams don't want to put too much stock and too much equity and too much money in the linebacking position. They would rather put it on the defensive line. So I don't know. It's just really interesting to see how these NFL teams kind of scheme up their defense and who they put at linebacker for multiple years. You know, I mean, like in free agency, most of these linebackers are like 3-year deals with really their 2-year deals, potentially a 1.
Yeah.
You know, so it's really interesting the longer we play IDP to look at these in terms of the NFL. You really just want to hold on to your Maxx Crosbys, your Myles Garrett. Hopefully Dallas Turner hits. Hopefully you don't trade Jared Verse forever. You keep them like an Aaron Donald. You
Blue
retire
chips.
them.
Yes.
Exactly. And then you pull an Adam and you go and you farm this linebacking position.
What does pulling Adam look
You're
like to you?
f-
Staying up till 3 a.m.?
You're farming the heck out of these linebackers. You're trying to go find every Jack Sanborn and Nate Landman that you can.
I was gonna say,
On, you know.
Landman got a little elevation this week.
It was, yeah.
Hakeem Davis Gaither, go out there and pick him up. Go out there and pick up Oren Burks. Like all these guys could have opportunity and be, you know, inside the top 20 next season.
Yeah.
I think I saw Brett Coleman talking about this as well as Nate Tice. Like Nate Tice said, NFL teams are terrified to have below average linebacker play.
Yeah.
And I think this tagged on with what I think it was Brett Coleman said, that the NFL is probably the worst when you look at scouting certain positions. Because he was talking about, I think, how many first-round linebackers are still with their current team. And it was like a really small number. It's going back like the last 5 years. And his point was the NFL is really bad at scouting linebacker. It's probably their worst position to scout. And so I think that's a combination of factors as to why you saw perhaps some shifting attitudes this offseason. Cap's going up, $15 million, not a big deal, because it's so hard for us to figure out what makes a good linebacker that when we have one, let's just pay to keep them.
Dude, I pulled a stat on Mackery's episode last week. Only 14 out of 97 qualifying linebackers had a coverage grade above 70, according to PFF. So it's a hard position.
Yes.
So here's something else I would ask you to do. Go to the IDPshow.com.
Do that for sure.
Sub the website and get into Adam's ranks and just look and see the differentiation from one year to the next for the defensive line. You're not going to see a ton of variation. You know, let's look at a Maxx Crosby. You're going from 10 points, 10.2 points per game in 2020, 13.6, 19.9, 19.3, 15.6. Definitely a couple outlier years, but nothing too egregious. But then look at some of the linebackers, you know, 11 to 16 to 10 to 13.9. That was Nick Bolton. Look at even some of the defensive backs. There's just so much variation from one year to the next. For a linebacker 1 to be a linebacker 1 the following year is difficult to do. For a DB1 to be a DB1 the following year is maybe even harder to do.
Well, we talked about there's not really if there's a position in IDP where you can have a handcuff like what you have with running backs on offense, it's linebacker.
Yeah.
That's the reason you can see someone like a Jack Sanborn get plugged in for the Bears a few years ago and ball out and have like the highest points per snap we've ever seen.
Yeah.
And so it truly is a replaceable position, at least for IDP purposes. Now, those guys don't tend to have the longest shelf life.
Yeah.
But you can find them every single year. I mean, Zack Baun was out there on waivers late into the summer because we had no idea.
Yeah, and how many top 12 edge rushers do we pick up off waivers?
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. You're not going to
if
find Jared Verse on waivers.
If you have to go farm like a defensive end in like a start 11, 12 team league, start 2 DNs, good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. You're going to be taking a guy who's like ranked as, you know, defensive end 50 for that week probably. So
get you like a Malcolm
Samson
Kuntz or
Ebukam.
yes, that range.
Dante
of guy.
Fowler, you know.
Yeah.
Just
Maybe you can go find you a Odengbo out there before they
Dorrance
hit
Armstrong.
and do a little. Yeah, that's what you're going to have to do, really, pretty much.
Yuck.
Hopefully you find a
Austin Booker.
luck into like a Kyle Van Noy type situation,
yes.
a Van Ginkel, right? But for the most part, that's pretty rare.
Yep. And those guys don't get hurt that much. Your linebackers do.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you need to know who Jack Sanborn is.
Right. study those linebacker depth charts. If you had, you would look at the next guy here on the list, Edgerrin Cooper, LB3, 23.4 years old, Green Bay Packers. Now, they did bring back Isaiah McDuffie. I think that's more just for linebacker depth, special teams. I think it's going to be Crybaby Quay. Mike Wohlert, our very own, is doing some of his projections for 2025 already. And he is got Edgerrin Cooper, I think, inside of his top 5. Now, he has not gone through and projected everyone yet. There's still a lot of like big name linebackers still left to project. But Edgerrin Cooper was very highly ranked, and that got me excited as someone who traded for Cooper. I think, Crybaby Quay Walker is sort of the question mark here with Edgerrin Cooper, but in terms of guys that finished the season hotter than anyone, Edgerrin Cooper was at the top of that list.
Yeah, wasn't he like linebacker 1?
He was linebacker 1. I think he was IDP 1 through the entirety of the fantasy playoffs.
Yeah, it's insane. And then the PFF was really good too. 84 overall PFF grade in 2024. That was 4th best among all linebackers. 73.5 coverage grade. That was 11th best. 2.5 yards average depth of tackle. That was 9th best among linebackers. So, yeah, I mean, just a fantastic start for Edgerrin Cooper, and then a guy that's going to see his role increase. And yeah, I'd imagine he's going to be the guy leading in snaps there. Like Quay Walker is like a big wild card. Like that dude could lose his job at any moment.
Yep.
They also have Tyron Hopper there. Like he's a little unknown, but Isaiah McDuffie is fine and solid. It won't kill you, So yeah, there's the ceiling's a roof for Mr. Edgerrin Cooper. Like,
yeah.
I mean, what are we linebacker 3 here? So.
And
I'm giving him his love and respect.
That's right. And linebacker 4 for Mike. And like I said, these are not finalized projections. A lot of guys still need to be put in there. But
yeah, I don't know that I'll be crazy high on him in redraft.
Yeah, I don't want to get out over my skis.
I don't think I'll be drafting much Edgerrin Cooper.
I'm curious. He is going high in the FastDraft ADP. So Baun, Roquan is 3, Warner is 4, Edwards is 5, Luvu is 6, Williams is 7, Nick Bolton is 8, Caden Ellis is 9. Thought that was pretty cool.
Actually, I'm fine with it around there. Like all those guys are like, I
agree.
Robert Spillane is 10, Edgerrin Cooper is LB 11. He is the first pick of the 3rd round.
That's fine, actually.
So I think when you look at kind of who comes behind him now, we'll say Blake Cashman I probably want more than Edgerrin Cooper.
But I think I want Cooper more than Spillane, more
I
than
agree.
a couple of those other guys you named.
Right. Deion Henley is right behind him. Ernest Jones, Cooper. Azeez Al-Shaair, Jamie and Sherwood probably deserves to be higher. Singleton is a guy that's getting slept on a little bit. Jordan Brooks. Foye, I think, is down at like LB 19 by the ADP. So, yeah, Edgerrin Cooper, I am very, very high on him. LB 20 in points per game, 13.4. LB 29 in total points. So, we'll see. I think I would probably project him somewhere in that like LB 12 to 15 range for redraft. But for Dynasty Bobo, love seeing him here inside the top 3.
Yeah, I think if you wanted to overdraft him this year for redraft, I don't hate it. I mean, Quay's kind of showed us what he is. He can wear his emotions on his sleeves a bit.
He's a youngin'.
Yeah, he'll grow up and he'll be fine. But Edgerrin Cooper's just going to be the type of guy that's going to be hard to keep off the field. That guy's talented, makes big plays, is influential in games, and 84 overall PFF grade in 2024. That's hard to look away from.
Yeah,
Great start.
I wanted to look up to see what his end of season was. And week 14 through week 17 here for Edgerrin Cooper. 40.35 points, 14.5, 25.25 in championship week, and then 12.25 in week 18. So if you're doing the math at home, that is 91 points across 4 games. That's 22-point average, something like that.
It's a league winner, folks.
So that is what I'm talking about. I always want to pay attention to what is happening at the end of the season, and Edgerrin Cooper was in fuego to finish out 2024.
What do you boys think about my Jihaad Campbell ranking? Linebacker 5.
I mean, are you baking in here a little bit landing spot being nice and draft capital being first round? Like,
Yeah.
let's say the scouts get it wrong and he goes second round.
He'll plummet.
Fall back a little bit for you?
A little bit, not too far. He'll still be inside the top 15, I'd say. But yeah, I mean, the latest mock I saw was him going 9.
9 overall.
Nine
Which
overall.
team was that?
Saints, I think.
Yeah.
Boy, they need a linebacker.
So I mean, you know,
What you're banking it off of is 117 tackles last year, 12 TFLs, 1 interception, and 5 sacks.
right? Good tackler,
Good tackler,
good upside,
pass
as a
rush
pass rusher.
upside.
Yeah, I mean, he could be the next Edgerrin Cooper.
You could be.
So that's really what we're looking at here. But yeah, I mean, I think he's going to get top 20 draft capital.
I love it, Addy.
I think I would like to see him go perhaps kind of closer to like the middle to back of the first round. Still get that first round draft capital, but land on one of these better teams. So, because you look at like inside the top 10, I think the earliest he could probably go, I just don't know that top 10 is in the range of outcomes, but like
I was a little surprised at that too.
Somewhere around, like I think the earliest would be like 13, 14, 15.
Yeah, I can see
somewhere in there.
So let's say he does. You want him or Zaire Franklin?
Oh, for Dynasty?
Yeah.
100% Jihaad Campbell.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you play that game, I think you're going to come out Jihaad Campbell a lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
I don't
that's
People
why.
people don't like this stuff,
Yeah.
but I mean, I hate it for him.
Yeah.
Well, and here is what I will say. Let's just kind of look at, okay, realistically, where do we think he could go? So, yeah, 9 was the New Orleans Saints. Chicago Bears at 10. No. San Francisco?
Maybe.
Maybe.
What
Dallas?
would you think about something like that? Him and San Fran with Fred.
I would like this next team a lot more, the Dallas Cowboys.
I think I would like
at
this
12.
49ers.
Yeah, it'd be pretty nice.
Yeah.
I get
Dallas
the-
would be very nice.
Dallas would be amazing. Miami. They've signed a ton. They signed Willie Gay.
Yeah.
Brought back Tyrell Dodson. You've still got Jordan Brooks there.
By the way, Dodson was really good last season.
I was going to say, I think it was Derek Klassen on the Athletic Football Show said if you're looking for Zack Baun 2025, Tyrell Dodson's a candidate.
Wow.
Thought that was pretty high praise.
He's been good.
So Miami, I'm not crazy about. I don't think it's going to be Indianapolis. I think we have other needs. Atlanta, I don't think so. Yeah, probably. Arizona would be insane. Now, I think he'd be LB, LB2, LB1, LB2 with ADG. Cincinnati, I don't think he's probably a fit there with Pratt and Logan Wilson. Seattle, alongside Ernest Jones. Bye-bye Tyrese Knight.
Yeah, right.
Tampa Bay was actually where I heard him mocked in the latest Underdog football mock draft. Love that.
That'd be pretty nice.
They were drawing some connections there, like getting to learn from Levante David. This team needs pass rushing juice.
Todd Bowles would
and you
like
just
him.
hand off the baton to Jihaad Campbell when Levante David retires after
Yeah,
this
that'd be
year.
pretty nice.
So that would be the ideal spot for me, is right there at 19 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And if he lands there, I'm not going to say he's LB1.
Keep going. Who are some of the other teams?
How are they getting him on the Panthers? Panthers have another first round pick. The Panthers are pretty high. They're not going to take
Yeah, the
Campbell that
Panthers
early.
are sitting at 8. I think that's a little rich. I think they're going probably like offensive line, wide receiver, one of those more premium positions.
Dumb teams do dumb things.
That's right. Tampa Bay. After that was Denver at 20.
It'd be muddy for next year, but
Yeah,
it'd be
with-
good. I mean, he'd be great at any of these spots. He's
Singleton there. Cody Barton's gone. So Pittsburgh at 21.
Huh?
So you could see
Him and
potentially
Peyton.
that would not be good for Peyton Wilson. I'm surprised Patrick Queen is still on this team.
Yeah, not good for Queen. I think. Well, Queen will just have 1 year left anyway. I'd say.
Right. I mean, I think they can save some considerable guap if they cut him this offseason. I think there are certain players that are potential cuts after the draft. Like I think that could be like an Ebucam cut. I think that could be a Patrick Queen cut if they do land someone like Jihaad Campbell.
And they may have to make room for Rodgers or something.
Right, exactly. So LA Chargers
gotta
at
make room for
22. I don't think with
good.
Junior
No room
Colson
with this
and Dayon Henley
He's looking real
that the
estate.
LA Chargers are going with Jihaad Campbell. Green Bay, no. Minnesota, no. Houston, probably not. LA Rams. I don't think he's getting down to
Raymond.
26.
Rams
We're trading
would be
up.
I think the
insane.
sweet spot for Jihaad Campbell is like 12 to 19. That's where I'm going to peg him, somewhere in that mix.
Are y'all not hype on Landman?
I mean, I think he could be pretty usul.
Shout out Jay Ball. He said it'll be fun to watch a linebacker tackle a running back.
We got the drop on here.
I think we do. Let's
Come
see.
on.
There it is.
Birdman.
There you go. Birdman. Shout out Shaq.
How do you feel?
I'm happy.
You think he's going to be LB1?
Be fine. It's gonna be better than it was last year.
Is it though?
Absolutely.
Boy, you guys need some
Be about
help.
the same, right?
Nah.
It's Rose.
It'll be a little better.
Getting rid of Roseboom, you're getting Landman.
It'll be a
I
little
was shocked
better.
to see that was the one they signed. That makes me think, like, are they like a Carson Schlesinger team or?
Oh man.
Like, I don't think Campbell is going to fall that far. That's the 26th overall pick.
I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't draft a linebacker at some point in the first 2 to 3 rounds.
Yeah, let's see. I mean, you guys could easily go linebacker in the second round, I feel like.
Yeah, man. We
Do you
need
know? Do you have a second round pick?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Don't ask me that again.
Don't ask me that. Don't ask me that. Don't do it to me.
You know better.
So, okay, let's take a quick break here, boys, and hear more. We've talked about FastDraft. You guys have heard us talk about FastDraft. Let's hear from the Podfather himself about their new D-Up contest. When we come back, we will go through the top 12 Dynasty rankings, Adam's Dynasty rankings, theidpshow.com. But let's take a quick break to hear about D-Up.
I am proud to announce that FastDraft now has an all-defense game called D-Up. That's right, fans of IDP finally have a real money best ball game that they can play. No more manually setting up leagues every time you want to do a draft. No. Now you can play for 10 grand, 2,000 to first. Could draft up to 30 teams, all defense. And the best part, balanced scoring, tackles for loss, pass breakups. It all factors in. Just draft 6 defensive players, top 4 into your lineup every week. It's that easy. It's so easy that this isn't just for IDP people. If you love the NFL, then you'll love this game. And for the first time with FastDraft, you can sweat both sides of the ball on Sunday. So use your host promo code to get a $25 deposit match, and you'll love this D-Up contest because it's about time we got one.
All right, welcome back. Make sure if you're in an eligible state, download FastDraft. Use our code IDPShow for up to a $25 deposit match. Get your draft on this offseason. We'll be in there drafting. We hope to see you in there. Next week, I'll be doing an episode of IDP Drafts, focus on FastDraft and the D-Up contest with Scott Soltis. So make sure you check that out. Boys, before we move on to the top 12, we completely jumped right over TJ Watt. So let's go back and talk about Mr. Watt. Let's give him his due. I did some prep on Mr. Watt here that I wanted to share. So he is actually my 4th most rostered player in D-Up. I've taken him in 1/3 of all those drafts. I'm going to ride the Watt train until the wheels fall off, and when they do, I think they'll likely all fall off at the same time. It'll be like multiple injuries.
5,000% pain.
Now, and as mediocre as 2024 felt for Watt, and it was by his standards, he still finished as IDP 4. Not counting his injured season in 2022, he had 4 straight years of 300-plus point seasons by Big 3 scoring, which usually averages about 3 IDPs above 300 points. In 2024, there were just 2 guys who did that. So think about that. 4 straight years of 300-plus points when the average is about 2 to 3 per year who do that. There's a reason Watt is here for Dynasty, his age, the injury concerns, but there's also a reason Adam has him as the IDP 1 in his best ball rankings. These Dynasty rankings have always been ahead of the curve. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some people have Watt as their edge 1 in Dynasty. So yeah, let's do like a value check on TJ Watt. Where are we right now in the TJ Watt experience, Addy?
If I'm a contender, certainly interested.
Yep.
I think he still should be worth a second. You know, I expect him to give us like 3 or 4 more years of like elite production. Like I don't ever see him not being elite.
Unless it just truly does all cave in.
Which he'll just
injury-wise.
He'll just like I think like the risk is like he just retires.
Right. He just pulls a JJ and retires before the wheels completely come off.
Right. So if that doesn't happen, yeah, I think he's going to be a player you want to have on your teams. So, I mean, there's still, I mean, you look at the last 3 years, 17 points per game in 2024, 22.8 in 2023, 15.8 in 2022.
Nobody gives you that kind of ceiling.
Yeah. That was DL4, DL1, DL9. I mean, that's ridiculous. So.
Yep. Babbo? I think it's boring talking about TJ Watt, but I mean, I think he's just a guy that you just ride until the wheels fall off.
I traded Watt at the end of last year.
Didn't you trade him too, Adam?
No, to Ratty.
Okay.
He was expiring in the XFL.
Did you acquire TJ Watt in another league? Am I remembering this correctly?
Like a year and a half ago.
Okay. It was for like a championship push, right?
Right. I think it was. Oh gosh, I think I traded like late first at that point.
I was gonna say I think it was a first, and
I got like a third and something else back.
So that averages out to like a second round pick.
Yeah.
When you look at like the value of picks exchanged. So, yeah,
Probably
you
wish I would
moved.
have had that first.
But so
Because TJ Watt didn't deliver it for me.
Yeah, well, he's a guy who just is I think Johnny the Greek likes to say, you get the broken pinky toenail.
But
He's
this year
always,
he just disappeared down the stretch this year.
Yeah.
Like was not worth. Yeah.
those last couple weeks of the year were
was
a pretty
rough.
big bummer for you.
a lot of those edge rushers let you down. Like Van Ginkel kind of sucked down the stretch. Really, only Trey Hendrickson was like, get on my back. I got you guys.
And even Trey Hendrickson, like I feel like a third of his fantasy points came in like
Seriously.
3 games.
Yes.
You know, because he had a lot of bust weeks too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to look here. Well, what sucks about Trey Hendrickson was week 15, 9 points, 16, 13, and then 48.2 in week 18 when everyone is out of the playoffs at
Right.
that point. So, yeah, he had an outrageous week 18. Hopefully that dude gets paid. But, yeah, TJ Watt, I still think worth a second. Contender piece for sure.
You can get him for a third. That's a no-brainer.
Oh, God, yeah. If you're letting him
Even
go
if-
for a third, you are an idiot.
And even if like you're a rebuilding team, like get TJ Watt, then flip him to a contender like
Right.
in season. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. Go flip him for a higher pick than what you paid for him in season when someone's making a playoff push. That's just a good asset. Even with the injury concerns aside, the ceiling outcomes for TJ Watt make him a great store of value in Dynasty, in my opinion. So let's move to the top 12, though, boys. Group number 3, Abdul Carter sitting here at number 12 overall, edge 8, 21.2 years old, like Jihaad Campbell, a rookie in this incoming class. Brian Branch, safety 1, 23.4 years old, of the Detroit Lions. 10 overall, Fred Warner, LB2, 28.4 years old, San Francisco 49ers. Roquan Smith, he is the, let's see here, LB1 for you, Addy. 28 years old, Baltimore Ravens. Myles Garrett, he is sitting at number 8 overall, edge 7, 29.2 years old, just re-upped with the Cleveland Browns. And then Maxx Crosby is sitting here as your number 7 overall, edge 6, 27.6 years old, re-upped with the Las Vegas Raiders. And that rounds out group number 3. Let's jump back up to the top and talk about Abdul Carter. We've talked about him a lot. Do you think the haters are going to be mad that you have a rookie inside your top 10 edge rushers, Addy?
Probably so. But
Two rookies.
I would like to remind the haters that I've had Will Anderson in the same spot, before he was drafted. I'm sure I had other guys that we could point to.
Were you high on Hutch when he came out?
Yes.
I think so, yeah. Hutch and Kayvon maybe too. But, yeah, I mean, that's just deal with it, folks. Like
The haters are weeping right now, Addy.
Yeah, I mean, they're scared. They don't win. Like, I mean, it's I'm not worried about the haters. Never have been. Never will be.
Never will be.
I'm built different, man.
You are built
different. No one's putting in the work.
3 hours sleep,
Built very
10
well.
beers an episode.
No one's putting in the fantasy work, looking at the fantasy production more than me. People dig into the advanced metrics a little more. I'd say, definitely say. We know a guy that does it for a living.
that we do.
But as far as like looking at fantasy points, which is
That's the currency we spend in fantasy football, guys.
and for some reason we all want to get away from it for some reason.
Agreed.
It should still be number one, I think.
Yeah.
It's the game we play.
But yeah, that's what we're looking at. I think more than anyone in IDP, that your boy is. So.
Your boy. That was one of my favorite things Sigmund Bloom ever said. Be a bean counter. And he was talking about points. Because that's what
Yeah.
we spend.
Yeah,
Unless you're in an all-22 league, you're not spending those PFF grades.
correct.
So, Abdul Carter, edge 8 for you. You have him basically behind what I would consider like the big kind of 6-pack of edge rushers. 7 in this case here. But like there's a pretty clear group at the top. And I think that you have put him right outside that group with the expectation that he could very easily leapfrog into the tier 1 of edge rushers as soon as next season.
Yeah, I mean he shares a lot of the same characteristics as those guys, right? I mean, very well built, gonna get crazy draft capital, productive in college, productive early in college, great metrics in college. Everyone that we respect loves this dude. Like, I mean, a lot of people are calling him the most talented player in the draft. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just, we've seen this before, guys. I mean, this is Will Anderson. This is Micah Parsons all over again.
Yep. Aidan Hutchinson. I think he's going to get, better draft capital than we've seen for a lot of these premier edge rushers. I mean, I think, Bobo, what is your take right now on the second overall pick in the NFL draft? What are the Cleveland Browns going to do? Because there has been a lot of Shedeur Sanders smoke to the Cleveland Browns at the second overall pick.
And you're saying who goes one?
That Cam Ward to the Titans
Seems like a
at
lock
the
at this
first
point.
overall pick is approaching lock territory, I think.
Tighten up.
Tighten up.
I think Abdul Carter makes a ton of sense
To
in
Cleveland. I agree. That the reason I bring that up is because that's the great wild card with me on Abdul Carter is if he lands in Cleveland with Myles Garrett. I like that. If Shedeur goes at 2 and the Giants sit there at 3, do they really go Abdul Carter at 3rd overall and stick him behind Kayvon Thibodeau and Brian Burns? I don't love that. If he goes 4th overall to the New England Patriots, do we love that?
If he goes 3rd, it probably says a lot about how they feel about Kayvon.
Yeah.
Right. Because New England's at 4, Jacksonville's at 5. That's Josh Hines-Allen and also Trayvon Walker.
Yeah, 2 or 4 is where we need him to go.
What NFL team actually came out this week and said that they had a representative from their team at every single Shedeur Sanders?
That was the New York Giants.
Was it?
Yes, it was.
Wow.
So I personally think that Abdul Carter is going at 2 to Cleveland and Shedeur Sanders is going 3 overall to the New York Giants.
So then that means Travis Hunter goes
4 overall to New England, which I would love because I think
Makes
if you
sense
talk
for May.
about the chance for him to be the best cornerback and the best wide receiver on the
Good
team
call.
from the time he steps on the field,
Yeah.
New England gives you that best chance inside the top 5, in my opinion.
That's such a sick fit, too,
Yeah.
across from Christian Gonzalez.
Right.
Oh yeah.
That's suddenly like one of the best cornerback rooms in the NFL.
Immediately the best wide receiver on the team.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Far and away. And you're attached to Drake May
And you really don't want to be there
and
with,
Josh McDaniels,
You don't
a
wanna-
proven offensive coordinator.
you don't want to be tied in with Neighbors. And then Neighbors is going to have to deal with who he's catching the ball from this
That's
year.
right.
And then the other situation is if Cleveland takes Travis Hunter, he's the best wide receiver on the team, probably ahead of Judy, I would think.
Oh, yes.
But who are you catching
But who's
balls
throwing
from?
him the ball? Right, exactly. Is it,
Jameis?
I mean, it doesn't
That's
seem
true.
like they want Jameis back. I think they
Crazy.
are solving. Now, I will say, if they go with Abdul Carter at 2, if they go with Travis Hunter at 2, I think it's Kirk Cousins on a trade. That's been a team I've seen linked to Cousins a lot this offseason. So it's just kind of the musical chairs of what happens inside this top 5 affects Abdul Carter a lot, in my opinion.
Here's my only I can give you a little negativity. We can't all be positive on this episode. I think you could be a little low on Abdul Carter.
Oh, wow.
I think you could. I really think you could look up and, in a year he could really be in that like Will Anderson type trajectory.
No, you're right there. Yeah.
I get that. I get why you have him here because I mean you really don't want to get too head over your heels too early on.
Don't want to be viewed as somebody trying to be too cute and stuff.
Sure. What was
But,
what was I called on Reddit when I had Jameer Gibbs at 1 in front of Bijan?
Oh, yeah, edgelord.
There you
Edgelord,
go.
yes.
Hey, stand behind it. You still want Gibbs over Bijan, probably.
Probably. I like the
No,
caveat
maybe.
there
No,
at the
no.
end.
Gibbs pretty sick.
They're both great.
Bijan's
They're
pretty
both
good,
great.
though.
Bijan's pretty sick.
That was 1A and 1B. But anyways,
The landing
Either way,
spot.
another edgelord.
We know that Abdul Carter is going to be good. The foot stuff worries me a little bit for year 1. I don't want to see him land in a situation like the Giants. Or now, I will say, if he's still there on the board at 5 overall, which I don't think he would be, it could happen. Like if they go Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders, Armand Mimbu, the offensive lineman to the Patriots at 4. What I think you could see happen is a team trade up to 5 with the Jags to take Abdul Carter at 5.
or maybe the Jags take Abdul Carter if he's there.
That would not be great.
Get rid of Trayvon.
Maybe someone else trades up for him too. That could
sure.
that could happen. Like a who was that? That was Will Anderson.
They traded up. So that would be nice. That would make me feel better.
But best case is Abdul to Cleveland.
That's right.
Him and Myles Garrett. But it's also like, Cleveland, what are you doing?
Yeah,
How
right.
are you going to score points?
Right.
Cleveland should trade back.
I
right?
agree. You need to get some more assets.
Yeah.
I don't think you need an Abdul Carter
Pick up
right
a first in next year, or take Hunter. I think.
think so
If
too.
I was
I agree.
Cleveland, I
Yeah.
would trade back to 3, let the Giants come up to 2, take Shedeur Sanders at 2, the Giants, and then take Abdul Carter at 3, and then go trade for Kirk Cousins. And then use that extra pick, that second-round pick you get from the Giants to move up one spot. Go get you a nice, cornerback, wide receiver, blue-chip player.
Real quick, y'all believe in Cam Ward?
I think he's going to be pretty good.
I mean, worth a shot, I guess.
I think he's going to be pretty. I don't want to see him in the AFC South. I'll say that. And I think he's going to stick there. I mean, you didn't hear the Titans link to any of these big-name quarterbacks.
But do we believe in the Titans?
Yeah, good question.
That is the question. And the answer is no.
Yeah, he's going into a bad situation.
They did make
Calvin
the
Ridley.
offensive line a little bit better this offseason. They did prioritize that in free agency, but it's like, I mean,
Tajay Spears.
is Dan Moore and Kevin Zeitler really moving the needle for you offensive line-wise?
Calvin
Maybe
Ridley.
the worst receiver room, like one of the worst receiver rooms in the league.
I mean, who even is it? It's Calvin
They
Ridley.
got rid of what's-his-face, the guy
DeAndre
that was
Hop-
actually good, Westbrook.
Yeah,
you know.
Nick Westbrook-Akine.
Who was
Yeah.
there for a little while? Wasn't there an older vet there?
Hopkins was there. He got traded.
Hopkins was there. That's right.
He got traded
And
to the
then
Chiefs.
Traylon Burks
Yeah.
recovering from ACL.
Chiga Conquo still there.
That team sucks.
It's a
That team
bad
sucks,
team.
but
It's a very bad team.
Paul-
yeah,
Pollard's
there's a
gone.
reason they won 3 games. So
They brought back Julius Chestnut. I saw that.
Hey,
Little
there you go.
running
Pollard's
back I was
gone?
like,
Where'd he go?
Pollard, isn't he gone?
I think he signed a multi-year deal.
I'm thinking of Rico Dowdle
There you go.
to the Panthers.
the other Cowboys cast off. Brian Branch sitting here at safety 1, Addy. Now,
Stud.
this is there's a pretty large gap here. Now, again, this is all kind of tightly grouped. These are all top 24 guys, but you did have Kyle Hamilton at 24, Brian Branch down here at 11. What separates these two guys in your mind, Branch versus Kyle Hamilton? Why is he your safety 1?
Branch is going to have just really, really good usage, I think, for us. We already talked about Kyle Hamilton and his usage. Kind of maybe being a question mark moving forward. Still nothing I think is going to be a concern. But, like, Branch, no concern about that. Like, always playing a ton in the slot, ton in the box. But also just, like, playmaker. Like, maybe the best playmaker at safety, cornerback, however you want to label him. Yeah, I mean, like, really, like, the focal point of that defense last season after and I think it was glaring, like, how special he was after Aidan Hutchinson went down. But, yeah, I mean, as far as pieces go for a defense, like, man, I would want a guy like Brian Branch on my team. Like, I think he's going to be good for a long time. But, yeah, just knack for making plays. Like, he's gotten better every single year. He started off last year as, like, an actual cheat code. It was, like, averaging, like, over, like, 20 points per game, like, the first half of the season. So, yeah, just a stud. I think he's gonna be a guy like Antoine Winfield, maybe a little better producing than Antoine Winfield, but I think we can count on him to be like between 13 and 16 points per game, which is very rare for a safety.
Yeah, he's special, Bobo. I don't think you get that a whole lot with safeties.
Antoine Winfield also very high as well. Right behind Cal Hamilton at 25.
I was going to say, he
safety 3.
just missed out.
Yeah.
Antoine Winfield, Frankie Louvu, Zaire Franklin, Trey Hendrickson were the 4 guys that missed the cut there.
I like that comp there, Addy, to Antoine Winfield. Antoine Winfield, just a guy who's just a headsy type player, always in a good position, always makes the play. Branch is very similar. 13.3 points per game in 23, 16.3 points per game in 2024. That's crazy. I mean, for a second-year safety, that's really, really impressive.
I think him and Aidan Hutchinson are going to be the most important players on that Detroit Lions defense for a very long time.
And there's not a lot of guys that make plays on that defense.
Right.
Like, we just talked about Jack Campbell, like a guy that they have more than 2 sacks. Since
Right,
coming in?
they needed Brian Branch to make plays.
Yeah, Brian Branch does everything. Gets sacks, gets interceptions, pass deflections.
Covers.
Like, all over the place. Like,
Teams are sick they let this guy slide to the second round.
No doubt. Like,
14th overall pick in the second round, that's nuts.
you watch a Lions game, Brian Branch is going to stand out to you.
Right. I will say this position, safety, feels a little bit like linebacker to me, where I think the top 2 guys are locked in. Linebacker, it's Roquan, it's Fred. Safety, it is Brian Branch, it's Kyle Hamilton. And then kind of at the third spot is where I think you're going to see a lot of divergence in terms of opinions. I will say, you have Antoine Winfield there, sitting at 25 overall, safety 3. I think the guy that could come out of nowhere to make the case for safety 3 when we're having this conversation next year.
Nick and Monowari.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
NRAS.
the Derwin James comps first round draft capital, it sounds like. So I'm so curious to see how Emanwari does, if he does get the capital that we expect him to get.
I like that, Joshy.
Yeah, and he's going to be
coming out with ranks?
No, that's just I was just looking at the safeties because it's kind of a weird time for
like
safeties.
He's getting in the ranks game.
Derwin James,
Take mine over,
safety
please.
4. I'll take it on the midnight shift for you. Safety 5, Buda Baker, which I agree with that. I think that Buda Baker does.
I like
deserve,
the other one, Buda Baker.
Buda Baker does deserve to be a top 5 guy. Good Lord, words are hard, Addy. You're right. Safety 6 though is Jesse Bates. Safety 7, Tyler Nubin, and then Malachi Starks, and then Emanwari for you at safety 9.
And don't all those safeties feel like safeties that are going to last?
For
Right.
sure. Nubin.
Like they're all going to be around for half decade at least.
Agreed.
You know?
Yep.
So
Yeah, safety's in an interesting spot. I think that could be the riser. Not to throw too much of a divergence here for us.
no, I think Emanwari or Malachi Starks, both of those guys are going to be on the radar for sure.
Yeah, I want to see. Do you think Malachi Starks is kind of a guy on the borderline, I feel like, in terms of first-round draft capital?
I think people are overthinking it a little bit. I think that
agree.
he had a bad, who else had a bad combine or a bad combine? Brian Branch.
Right, exactly. And I think that's where some smart team will take him probably at the back of the first round if he's sliding, because they don't want to see a Cooper DeJean,
Yes.
Brian Branch situation.
And he'll be a freaking stud. And I'm like, what? How?
How did the Baltimore Ravens get him?
Yeah.
That's actually a team I've seen linked to Malachi Starks. So,
But it really reminds me a lot of Antron Winfield, Jeremy Chin. That same class, because Jeremy Chin was like 10 RAS.
he was the freak. Yep.
Got like good draft capital. And I think maybe he started out the career a little better.
Yeah.
Like immediately. But
Emanwari is a similar size to Chin also.
Oh,
right.
he is a literal physical clone of Jeremy Chin.
and I just wonder, like, longevity, like being that size, like, is he going to be able to cover? Like, and that's what keeps these guys around. Is he going to be able to cover and cover long term? I don't know. I have questions. Like I see him more in the Jeremy Chin mold, so where like he's more of a box type, a bigger guy could, it could be an issue as he gets older.
Yeah, do teams deploy him like Jeremy Chin or Derwin James, the two players we've seen him comp to the most?
Which is funny because Brian Branch is right at like 5'11", 190.
Oh, he's a pocket-sized playmaker.
K-Ham,
6'3", 6'4".
6'4", 220.
Yeah, he's a big boy. He's
Yeah,
a
I love
rangy
all
guy.
the size and shapes of these dudes.
Oh, yeah.
They're all very different.
Yeah.
I mentioned it earlier, though, when I was talking about linebacker and safety kind of being the same in terms of where these guys are ranked. We've talked about Abdul Carter, Brian Branch. Let's talk about the top 2 linebackers for you here, Addy. Fred Warner, LB2, clocking in at number 10 overall. Roquan Smith, number 9, LB1 for you. This was wild to me. When I went back and looked at Fred Warner's 2024 season, even on a broken foot, he had his 3rd best year for IDP in 2024. He was LB9 and scored more points than Blake Cashman, Quincy Williams, Jamian Sherwood, and Nick Bolton. Since 2018, Warner has averaged 13.62 points per game. Roquan is 15.17 points per game. We are truly, truly splitting hairs here. But I can see why Roquan gets the nod at LB1 with the higher points per game. He's a smidge younger. He has a bigger contract. But both guys on good teams. Do you agree, though, that barring catastrophic injury, Warner will have a longer shelf life than Roquan Smith?
Yeah, I see it like a Levante David, Bobby Wagner situation.
You think they both have that kind of shelf life?
Yeah, I don't see any reason why both these guys aren't like, same type discussion we're having about Levante David, Demario Davis, Bobby Wagner. Like these guys are going to be relevant into their 30s, maybe into their mid-30s.
Yeah. Hey, I would love that. I think dynasty managers everywhere would love that if we got that kind of shelf life.
Never had a 40-year-old linebacker.
At a position where it turns over.
Levante David may give it a
Might
go.
get there.
He's going to try. He's going to ride those.
All those guys, man.
Tampa Bay's going to will him out in a wheelchair.
Are they all going to retire at the same time?
I think they are. It's a staring
Hold
contest
hands,
to see
go
who
out
folds
together.
first. It really is. Bobo, or is Roquan your LB1? Fred Warner your LB2? You agree with this?
Does it matter?
I'd have to chew on it a little bit. I like Edgerrin Cooper a lot. That's probably a little too progressive at this point. Maybe by the end of the season, we could maybe see one of these young guns hop up here.
If you're rebuilding and you have Fred, you send in that trade. Straight up, I'll give you Fred for Edgerrin Cooper.
Because,
Man,
Fred is approaching 30, I'm probably considering something like that.
I think even if I'm rebuilding, Fred's a fine piece to have. Just because, again, you argue the shelf life, so it's like...
You're not rebuilding for more than a year or
right.
two, hopefully.
By the time I'm contending or hope to be contending, Fred Warner's still going to be great.
But again, the only negative thing that I'll say about Fred and Roquan is that they can be a little too solid. There's not as much of a ceiling with both of those guys. They have a really, really high floor. But I mean, like the outlier season for Roquan, 17.1 points per game in 2022. Was that his first year with Baltimore? Was really, really good. Fred's outlier season, 16.2 points per game in 2023 was really, really good. But last year, both of them, 13.6, 13.2, really, really solid. I just maybe want to explore to see if there's another guy out there that has a better potential to get that 15 points per game, 16 points per game.
And that depends on how you want to play
Could
your
I save
linebacker.
a couple years? Could I get 5 years younger and get the next up-and-coming linebacker?
Now, are you concerned at all that Roquan has been trending in the wrong direction for 3 straight seasons?
It is a little weird, but no, not really. I mean,
LB2, LB16, and then LB20 by total points.
And even the grades have not been
I know.
great.
I think there'd be a lot of people out there who would say Roquan Smith was a bust last year, considering you drafted him as LB1 or 2, and he goes as LB20.
Yeah, I mean, it's and same thing happening this year too, right? And I don't know that we should
He's
expect
LB3,
him.
yep.
Yeah, and I don't know that we should expect him to really ever be that. Like, the reason why I love Roquan is because I don't have to worry about him, getting the rug pulled out from under him.
Right.
Like, he's he's reliable. Like, he's given us, his every year of his career, he's given us, more than we could ever want.
You've said this before. It's like getting up to the plate and just hitting a double. That's what Fred and Roquan give you in these drafts, is just certainty.
Yeah.
Do you have the ceiling? Maybe it's one of those seasons. Maybe it's not. But you're not going to have a top 12 overall pick that's going to end up finishing in the hundreds, because they lost their job. Or
Right. I know I'm going to have these guys when it matters in the playoffs. And at that point, like, maybe they can have a big spike week. Like, they got that in them. So it's like...
I mean, Fred Warner had his, third or fourth best season? His third best year for IDP on a broken foot.
He was on fire that first half of the year.
Yes, he was unbelievable to start the season.
I think, honestly, if you were going to move either of these guys, which I don't think we're telling you that you need to move them, I don't really know that I'm moving them for a linebacker. I would obviously be interested in Edgerrin Cooper. I would obviously probably be interested in Jihaad Campbell. But as far as Dynasty is concerned, I don't want to include them in a deal for Jack Campbell, Zack Baun, Nick Bolton, Terrel Bernard, Frankie Louvu, Zaire Franklin, anybody below that. So really what I would be trying to do is, if you can go get an edge, if you can move a guy like that in some type of a deal to get a locked and loaded Jared Verse, maybe Abdul Carter, maybe Will Anderson, maybe even get like a Dallas Turner plus something really good, that's probably more along the lines of what I would be moving a guy like that for.
Yeah, would you take Dallas Turner plus a 2025 second-round pick for Roquan or Fred?
I probably would.
That feels like a pretty nice cash out on either of those guys.
Yeah.
But
I have Roquan and Fred in XFFL, and I was actually thinking about that. Like, I'm loaded at linebacker. I have like Henley, I have Josie Jewell, I have someone else too.
the greatest linebacking core of all time, as we know.
Quincy Williams. Lots of people are saying this.
Yeah.
So like, and I don't have any edge rushers. So I was looking at like someone like Macri has like Josh Allen, Nick Bosa, Maxx Crosby,
Rashawn Gary.
Right. But I'm really looking at those top 3 of his. And I was like, well, maybe there's a deal there with someone, like him. He loves Maxx Crosby, so it's gonna be hard getting him away from
Could you get Bosa?
Maybe. That's what I was thinking.
Can you pour value out of the linebacker bucket into the edge bucket, essentially?
See, I think he loves Bosa. I think he loves Bosa and...
But surely he loves Roquan and Fred too, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Would you
Good
do
point.
Bosa for Fred straight up?
I would wonder
You think you'd get that deal done?
what their contracts are.
man, I don't want to get rid of Fred though.
Right? That's the thing.
It's like I want to go get Bosa another way. You know what I mean? I don't want to let go of Fred. I don't want to let go of Roquan. Because we can talk about selling these guys all day, but again, like it is just so hard to find guys like this. You know. And also like with Fred and Roquan and like these type linebackers, like the difference, like these guys, like there's like an aura about those guys, like being the captains,
using the lingo,
just being like the captain of the defense, like they're just cut from the same cloth as like Levante David, Bobby Wagner, like even like all the greats like Urlacher, Ray Lewis, like that's what like these two have, in my opinion, and that's just a rare thing to find. So it's like I don't want to let go of of dudes like that.
All right, so the deal's not happening, Macri.
You can draft Abdul Carter.
Sorry, man.
Just fix all your problems.
It's true.
I think
you go.
Should.
No, you should.
Probably
You got the
That'd be
102.
really
Let's
smart.
talk.
Yeah, I think you
really
talked me
smart.
into it.
Let's talk this coupling of edge rushers because I feel like they belong together based on how this offseason is unfolded. Myles Garrett at 8 overall, edge 7, 29.2 years old. Maxx Crosby, edge 6, 27.6 years old. I feel like Max is ahead of Myles here simply based on the age. I was doing a little bit of digging. We'll talk about both these guys.
Oh, boy.
But so many of the edge rushers feel slept on because so many of them had really bad down campaigns in 2024. I mean, perhaps none more so than Mad Max. He was coming off back-to-back 300-point seasons in which he finished as IDP 3 in 2023 and IDP 1 in 2022. I think we could see a bounce-back season for Max in 2024, which he finishes inside the top 3 overall again. Let's break it down. Got the bag, 3 years, $106.5 million, $91.5 million guarantee. He's on track for training camp. He had ankle surgery in December. The team re-signed Malcolm Kuntz and Adam Butler. They have Tyree Wilson entering year 3, and Christian Wilkins will be back after missing last year. New head coach, Pete Carroll, ever heard of him? I don't think he could be a riser in these rankings because of who's ahead of him and where he's at. Sitting right now as edge 6, I think that's pretty fair. So if you can get any kind of discount on Maxx Crosby coming off a down season in 2024, take that all day long. I'm very, very high on Maxx Crosby for 2025.
Yeah, and 2026 and 2027. And beyond that,
I worry a little bit for 26 and 27 just with some of the stuff you've brought up, the longevity, just because there's so much tread on the tires year in and year out with this guy playing like 95% of snaps.
It's true. Yeah, I pulled a couple of numbers. 64 snaps per game last season for Maxx Crosby. Next closest player was, weirdly enough, Wicca, DJ Wanham, and Aidan Hutchinson.
What the hell?
56 per game.
What a weird combo that is.
Yeah, Wanham, man, he gets a very healthy snap share. He did that in Minnesota.
He's
too.
like, Coach, I'm not any good, but I will play the maximum amount of snaps you need.
He's fine. He's solid. No disrespect.
Lots of disrespect.
But yeah, Crosby, I mean, also weirdly enough, like the PFF numbers started to dip a little bit, and maybe that's,
I think that's injury.
Volume, like how tired is this dude getting as games wear on?
I think he was probably more banged up than we realized last year.
Probably so. 74.1 overall PFF rate. That was 29th at the position. 11.7 pressure rate. That's one of the worst numbers of his career. That was 51st among edge rushers. But 4.5 pressures per game. That's 8th among edge rushers. Again, that's all that volume that's helping that number out. But yeah, still feel very good about him. I mean, I don't think we can expect, like, maybe the volume comes down a little bit, but he's still a dude that's like,
he's still playing 90% of snaps.
yeah,
I think.
you're not gonna be able to keep that dude off the field. Like he will not allow that.
I think if you wanted to make an upside case for him as the number 1 overall pick in redraft and for best ball, that's the reason right there.
Totally fine. No issues with it. I mean, I think as far as like floor goes for those top edge rushers, like he probably has the best floor. Like he's
right.
Probably going to put the best tackle numbers out of the group.
Again, IDP overall 1 in 2022, overall 3 in 2023. Mm-hmm. I mean, right up there with TJ Watt in terms of just consistency, and was just hurt last year.
Yeah.
So
that's and that's also like the juices back in the building a little bit potentially. We got Gino in town. They may bring in Genty. So
that team could be your Washington Commanders of 2025. Surprise
certainly.
Playoff team.
They can get on Genty's back, dude.
Seriously, just ride that guy. Let him be the next Marshawn Lynch for Pete Carroll.
Yep.
I would like that a lot.
You don't think that's who potentially trades up for Shedeur?
I think if
Brady
Shador
Lanks.
gets past Cleveland Browns and the New York Giants at 2 and 3,
They trade up.
I don't think that there's a team that would take him.
I gotcha.
I think he could. I think they could sit right there at 7 and just take him rather than having to move up.
Dion ain't gonna like that. Have him sit behind Geno for a
Right.
year,
Wouldn't care
year
for
or
that.
two.
Yeah, because they're there at 6. So you look at if he gets past the Giants, New England, Jacksonville, not going to take a quarterback.
Sipping
So-
on Vino,
That's right.
checking on Geno.
That's right. Hey,
Around the NFL, little shout out.
I would like Genty to Las Vegas there at 6. I think that makes a lot of sense.
I would like Genty to the Los Angeles Rams
You
at
hush it.
29.
You hush it.
No, Vikings.
Myles Garrett, though, I feel like has been. I think Cleveland Browns fans may be a little agitated with Myles Garrett, but when this guy gets back on the field and just starts wrecking stuff again, everyone will shut up and be fine. Because look at this dude, especially from an IDP standpoint, 283 points, 275 points, 281 points. You talk about consistency, floor in terms of production, if we want to talk about the currency we mentioned earlier. I mean, Myles Garrett is just an all-time walk-in Hall of Famer. Just signed a mega contract. I mean, you could make a case really for any of these guys we're about to talk about as the number 1 overall pick for 2025 drafts.
Yeah, they're all so good, man. I mean, and if you want to look at the advanced metrics, 23.1% pass rush win rate last season. That was first among edge rushers. 17.4% pressure rate. That was second. 4.9 pressures per game. That was fourth. And he does this every single year. He's always like in the top 5 of all these important metrics. And then PFF grades, he's been in the 90s for 4 straight seasons.
Probably the 101 for all 22 leagues as far as defense goes, legitimately.
Yeah, and then he just got 4-year what?
It was
123 guaranteed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big old fat
lot.
contract.
So I mean, I feel fine about Myles Garrett. Like he's going to be someone that like is still very relevant till he's 34, 30. Like think like Khalil Mack, you know, like same difference. You know, he'll still be great and you know, he could put up career numbers at age 33, 34. Like we could see that happen for him.
40 per year AAV.
Worth it.
4-year, $160 million contract.
Who else
Man.
y'all paying?
Right. And imagine if he does get Abdul Carter opposite.
Oh my goodness.
Then you're looking at a Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson situation here, with the Danielle Hunter portion of it kind of on steroids with Myles Garrett.
Sure.
So those are 2 edge rushers I think we can talk about in the same breath. But let's move to the last group here, boys, because topping this list at number 6 overall, Addy's Edge 5. It's Nick Bosa, 27.4 years old. The MAGA man plays for the San Francisco 49ers. Number 5, Bobo. I know you'll like this. Jared Verse, Addy's Edge 4, 24.4 years old. Los Angeles Rams. Number 4 overall, Adams Edge 3. Aidan Hutchinson, Detroit Lions, 24.5 years old. Number 3 overall, Edge 2. Will Anderson, Houston Texans, 23.6. Number 2, Addy's Edge 1. Micah Parsons, Dallas Cowboys, 25.8 years old.
I
and
feel
then
like this needs a little drum roll.
number 1, I think you know who it is, folks, if you've been checking the Dynasty ranks. It is Travis Hunter, cornerback 1, 21.9
What position?
years old. Cornerback, wide receiver, do-it-all guy. He's a fisherman as well. I told Lauren he needs to trade up and take him at the 102, Bobo, so just keep the inbox open there
Give me a call, Lauren.
for some trade offers. But let's jump back up to the top and talk about Nick Bosa.
I'm a Maya man, not a MAGA man.
Make Adam yell again.
Make Adam yell again.
All right, there you go, folks. Hope that got your knickers all in a twist with Adam yelling once again.
immediately give it to you.
Yeah.
You ain't gotta make you wait.
You ain't got to twist this arm.
That's right.
We need a little pull cord that I can just pull anytime I need a little juice in the pod.
You got it.
I do actually have your yell right there.
There we go.
Immortalized
Eerily
forever.
similar.
It's the rodeo.
It's the rodeo. All right, Nick Bosa, Edge 5. So a lot of these guys ahead of Nick Bosa, you see the youth on their side, right? Jared Verse, 24. Aidan Hutchinson, 24. Will Anderson, 23. Micah Parsons, 25. Nick Bosa, 27.4. I am curious here again, splitting the split ends off of the hair between Nick Bosa, Maxx Crosby, Myles Garrett. Why does Nick Bosa slot in for you as sort of the top end of the older edge rushers that we see?
He's right there with the mix. I think you group these weirdly.
I did. I mean, Nick Bosa is just the highest of
That's
kind
on
of
Josh.
the older guys.
Yeah,
That's on
They're
Josh.
all right there together.
I'm just.
I like Bosa's been
I always like just hearing your thought process.
so Bosa. I feel like he's been more consistent. Also doesn't have the mileage. And then I feel like there's still just a little bit of meat left on the bone with Bosa. Like I feel like we still haven't seen like his best year yet. Whereas Maxx Crosby, I don't really feel like that.
20.6 and 22 is pretty good.
That is ridiculous. But maybe a hair.
I
under
get
that.
what you mean.
You know what I mean?
I get what you mean.
I'm not like I feel like his ceiling is maybe greater than Maxx Crosby's, but he also is 2 years younger than Myles Garrett.
Like, we've probably seen the best of Maxx Crosby and Myles Garrett, and not like in a negative way. Like, they are probably going to continue on with 15 points per game. But you could see Bosa tick back up to like 17 or 18 points
Yes,
per game.
right.
I feel the same way about all those guys. I do see all these guys very similar.
Yeah, it's like I mean, I don't care.
My only
I want them all. I want
exactly.
every single one of them.
I see them all. I think they belong in sort of their own little bucket behind these guys that you have inside the
Correct,
top
right.
four just because of age.
I could maybe switch Max and Myles because I do feel like if Myles gets a little bit of help or is rejuvenated a little bit, some youth with Abdul Carter, maybe you see Myles Garrett do something fun. My thing with Maxx Crosby is, what if you see the snaps really start to take a dip? Maxx Crosby's gotten a lot of tackles over the years when he hasn't gotten sacks, and he's been really good at getting sacks also. But what if you start to see a little? Let's slow you down. We want the next 3 years to be healthy and productive for you.
I could see that. Now, we'll say the silver lining of even with Pete Carroll coming in, they kept the same defensive coordinator. So there is some continuity there.
I just don't know if it's a defensive coordinator decision as much as it is like
Ownership
you're in
and head
you're in the
coach.
training room a lot.
yeah,
Right.
right. If he keeps getting like banged up a lot,
exactly.
that'll be a discussion I think they have. And then that lowers the ceiling a little bit.
But I'm with you on Bosa
And
to,
floor.
to where I think Bosa just feels kind of younger than those two guys, and he just he feels like he's maybe got a little bit more left in the tank.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you look at
And he feels like more powerful than the others.
I agree.
I don't know. Myles Garrett's built like an action figure.
Yeah, that's true.
He's a mutant.
Yeah, not maybe I shouldn't say more than Myles Garrett, but more than Crosby, I think. And he just feels more durable. I don't know, but I mean, again, I mean, no shade. Like I love all these guys. I want all these guys on my team.
He's a Bosa though, so don't let's not.
That is
trade-
true.
Well,
They got to be ranked in some order.
We have to have this conversation because when you're sitting in a draft on the clock and these three guys are available, who are you going with? That's the conversation that we need to have.
I mean, assuming I'm in a lot of leagues, like I'd like to have some, diversification.
Right,
Like,
diversify. But Bosa in the first startup of the year, Bosa is the name you're clicking on for that particular
Luckily,
draft.
like Bosa is such a value, and all the you can get this dude like late first now for some reason.
Yeah, I wanted to see
I've
where
got
he was
him at like
going.
110, I think, a couple
He's
times.
going 109 right now in D-up, which is insane to me.
So that's crazy. So yeah, I mean, I really haven't. Like, it's been a no-brainer call every time I've selected Nick Bosa. So yeah, I mean, I hope that keeps happening.
Yeah, I think if you have this group of three and you polled 100 people across IDP, I mean, it's probably like 30, 30, 30. Like 1/3 of that group is probably going to have these guys in one certain order versus another. They're just so close in terms of outlook, I think, and market appreciation. I don't really see a big difference in these three guys.
Folks, don't waste your time doing any of those exercises. Life is too short. That ain't going to get you anywhere.
Don't do
worrying
it.
about how do I rank these three guys.
Just put them out there and be happy.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Now,
Live a life.
haters are going to be crying. We'll talk about the main puddle of tears around their feet with Travis Hunter, but Jared Verse. Now, I will say, I think the market is catching up on Jared Verse. I think they're hip to Jared Verse. He is going right behind Nick Bosa at the 110.
No, they're hip.
Feels a little cute. I'll be honest. I love him ranked here at edge 4 for dynasty wise. But he was DL 35 in points per game and DL 25 in total points. And he is now going as essentially the edge 9 in D-up. So that just feels like a bit of a projection, Bobo. You're the Rams fan. You love you some Jared Verse. You willing to go there with this guy for 2025?
Yes.
If the answer is yes, just say yes. But
It's pretty fun.
You're taking him. If you're at the end of the first, you are 100% taking Verse. You are. I know you are.
Yeah, you're probably
that's
right.
probably why he's here.
You're probably right. Jared Verse pretty good.
But do you like no concerns? Like you'd rather build your team out that way with Verse versus going linebacker early or something?
No, I'm probably not taking Verse there. I'm probably not taking Verse. I'm not this forward thinking quite yet. He really didn't have a ton of sacks last year. I mean, I know the PFF numbers were good, and he looks really good, but let's put a little pen to paper. Let's notch some stats, some snacks, and some sacks, and get me some points per game. But I don't know. I'm trying to think in terms of like Abdul Carter. Like if you were to don't trade Jared Verse right now, but if you were to trade Jared Verse, what could you get? Could you trade Jared Verse for Abdul Carter and a first?
God, no.
No, I don't think so.
I'm just saying in terms of like, could you get like a late 25 first and a future first?
Adam, you have him at a late first. I think a late first for Jared Verse is probably about the best you could do.
I think you're going to need more. Because essentially this year you're going to get Abdul Carter in the late first. You would rather have Jared Verse. I think Jared Verse, you probably...
Would you, though?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I mean, Verse, he is the oldest of these edge rushers as far as Laiatu. And Verse is 24.4.
That's a good point.
So he was the... Abdul Carter's, 21?
Yeah.
Quite a bit. Already got 3 years on him. And then, what if he comes out and puts up 10 sacks? And the metrics are good, too, for him.
Yeah. And by all accounts, that's what I expect. You know?
Being drafted inside the top 4, probably Abdul Carter. I would rather have Jared Verse. I think we could.
But that could be, you would maybe not say that for 4 weeks.
Right.
Sure.
That's the thing is, what kind of leap are we projecting for Jared Verse?
I'm expecting I'm expecting 10+ sacks for Verse.
I love the fact that we saw, because I've said before on this show, I want to see flashes in year one. That's really it. I just want to see little kind of glimpses of your potential. We got way more than that. We got almost a DL2 finish for this guy in his first year.
And that line is crazy.
Yeah, and young.
Right, and so
Puna Ford now.
the juice is back in the building with Stafford there, with Devontae Adams. This team's going to be pushing for the playoffs again. So
They got experience, all those young guys.
Right.
They played well.
this is a good, young, ascending defensive line. So, can Jared Verse ascend even higher in these dynasty rankings after this year? I don't know, because I really do love the 3 guys at the top. I think it'd be hard to crack into that top 3. But I wouldn't put it past Jared Verse. I don't know that. I don't know what the ceiling is. I don't know if he is like an edge 1 overall type of ceiling outcome in his range of outcomes.
Jared Verse?
Yeah, Jared Verse.
Gotta be.
He's in the mix.
Top 12?
He's in the mix.
He's
right.
in the mix. There's
Possible.
but there will be, I think. Well, for as long as we do the show, there's going to be 10 or 12 premier pass rushers that we talk about basically every single year
That you want.
for 10 years.
You don't want to move.
Yeah. And I think Jared Verse will be that same type.
Right. So let's talk about a couple of guys here who I believe, did they come in the same draft class? Aidan Hutchinson and Will Anderson here?
No, Will Anderson
Different.
was
A year later?
A year later.
2022.
2022 versus 2023. Is that right?
No,
Yes.
2023 was Anderson.
Anderson, yes. Hutchinson was 22.
Yep.
Right, okay. So Hutchinson, edge 3, 24.5 years old, so basically a year older than Will Anderson. Man, we were robbed of something really special with Aidan Hutchinson's 2024 campaign. He was at 24.45 points per game through 5 games. Even if that had leveled off to 20 points per game and he missed a game, he'd have comfortably finished ahead of Trey Hendrickson for IDP 1 overall. Now, double leg break, that is serious, make no mistakes. But remember, there were rumblings about Hutchinson playing in the Super Bowl, had the Lions made it that far. And new DC Kelvin Shepard, I remember when Shepard was playing, God, we are old, is confident in his recovery. If he makes it back to 100% in time for training camp, he'll be the 101 overall in IDP best ball drafts, and deservedly so. He'd be the guy I would bet on to finish as IDP 1. I do still want the Lions to add some help. Marcus Davenport does not count alongside him, and maybe they do that through the draft. There are plenty of edge rushers being mocked in the first round. But I would not surprise me at all to see Aidan Hutchinson leapfrog to edge 1 in 2026. I think he is one of those guys who could do that.
Yeah, for sure. Like this was
because he would have been edge 1 had he finished the season.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, Hutchinson has just been working his way back up these ranks. Like once he, snapped his leg in half, I moved him to like probably edge 8 or 9, right? And just as the months pass and he recovers, he just starts to get his
Work his way back up,
right? And so I'm on board with that. Like if he comes out and like if he picks right back up where he was, like we'll get this corrected pretty quickly. But I am a little worried about that injury. Like that's a big injury. I hope it doesn't affect him long term, but I feel like it could maybe be a little bit before we see old Aidan Hutchinson. It's I don't have any doubt that he's going to recover from it and be okay. But boy, that was tough. And then I feel like just the mental hurdles of that, getting your leg snapped like that, and then you used your leg so much, at that position. It just I don't like it. I didn't like it. I didn't. He's still 4 overall for me in Dynasty, but
that's a long range outlook.
Yeah. And the same thing with him. Like he already has this major injury. Like he's a guy that I expect him to play a lot of snaps and get a lot of mileage. Like it could be like the same thing for like Maxx Crosby type of, as far as like him battling injuries as he gets older and stuff. And you just worry like when players have injuries early in their career, just never really a thing you want. So just a minor little gripe with Aidan. Overall, like I think he's going to ball again at some point.
Yeah, I think it's one of the most important injuries to monitor as we get closer and into training camp, Bobo.
Yeah, it's concerning. You're exactly right, Adam. 24.5 points per game was pretty cool. Trending for Aidan last year. Is that right?
What was it?
24.5 points per game in 2024.
Yes, dude. In those 5 games, like those,
that looks like insane. A glitch.
22.7% pressure rate. That was first among edge rushers. 9 pressures per game.
Gosh. Look at the snaps too before he got injured: 89.7, 89.6, 96.6, 86.7.
Wow.
So he would have been playing 90% of snaps the entire season.
This is Maxx Crosby light as far as snaps.
Yeah, Maxx Crosby light in terms of volume.
But I'm with you. Don't draft Aidan and expect normal Aidan, I don't think. Maybe for a little while.
Like it may just take him some time to work back in
Isn't he number 1 in ADP right now?
He is, because he was ranked number 1 overall. Okay. So,
but he's still being drafted like that?
He's still being drafted number 1 overall.
Which is just
wow.
Nuts. Yeah, I like a lot of these guys better. Like I'd have him down probably behind most of these edge rushers. I'd probably swap him and like Nick Bosa.
I'm just not taking the risk. Like I think I have Aidan like edge 7 or 8, and like I think Trey Hendrickson versus Aidan is a very good question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because healing is not something you can tough out. Like we all saw the video of Aidan running like a crazy person with his shirt off. How many months after surgery? Like 4 months. But you just can't. I mean, getting back on the field, I know you want to get in the training room and you're going to rehab and you're going to lift weights and you're going to get back healthy as fast as you can. But, I mean, that was a really, really serious injury. And, something that you use regularly to get to the quarterback, last time I checked, were your legs. So
rumor.
That's what they say. We'll have to get Dr. Lizas on to confirm this.
I'm kind of surprised that I know this is your ranks, but it's also indicative of where the community values a lot of these people.
There's a lot of market based in this range.
So I know deep down Aidan is he's valuable because obviously that's what ADP on FastDraft is showing us. But also Aidan feels a little skeptical here.
I don't think the market really took a dip on Aidan Hutchinson.
No.
Because it wasn't an Achilles. Yeah. It wasn't an ACL.
It's not a Phillips. It's not a
It's not like it is not a minor injury by any stretch, but it wasn't one of those death knell injuries that just strikes fear in your heart. where you're wondering if that guy's ever going to be the same. Like,
I just feel like we don't really have a lot of experience with these
no,
injuries.
not this injury
Like,
for
That was a nasty injury,
right.
man.
I was looking at what Dak Prescott's injury was. His was a compound fracture and dislocation of his ankle.
That was terrible.
So it took him a full year to recover.
But even Dak's playing style and position is just different than what Aidan needs. You know, Aidan needs him knees for bending and for power, and you know you've got a lot of weight being pressed against those every single rep. I don't know. It's worrisome.
Yeah, I think once he's back to 100%, he'll be fine. I don't have long-term concerns about the injury.
You think he can get to 100%?
This season?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I would not be surprised. Now, you got to cut through the smoke and kind of the rumors of training camp buzz, but I think when training camp rolls around, you will see some reports coming out of Lions training camp saying Aidan Hutchinson has never felt better. He's back to 100%. Expect a big year. He's ready to pick up where he left off. Just
Unfollow.
Yeah, get ready for those headlines. Those are coming. I'm telling you. This is just how the news cycle works. Well, let's talk about a guy who's not injured. Adam's edge 2, Will Anderson, 23.6 years old. He was DL 41 in points per game and 47 in total points. In 2023, his rookie season made a big jump. DL 14 in points per game, DL 18 in total points, 14.7 points per game last year by Big Three scoring, and 205.9 overall points. Will Anderson has done everything that we could have asked him to do, wanted him to do. It's just nice when this kind of stuff works out, you know, because we have these high hopes a lot of times for edge rushers, and it just doesn't quite work out the way we want. Everything has been trending up for this young man.
Yeah, made us look very good. We put ourselves out on a limb with this dude when he came out, and he's delivered every single year, just getting better and better. 11.4 points per game in 2023, 14.7 last season, and then the PFF stuff very, very good too. 81.8 overall PFF grade in 2023. That was 21st among edge rushers. 85.1 last season. That was 10th best. 14% pressure rate. That was 19th among edge rushers. 3.6 pressures per game. That was 17th at the position. And then 16.5 pass rush win rate. That was 12th among edge rushers. Stud. He's in a great situation. We'll be talking about him as the next highest paid guy at some point. Getting to learn from Danielle Hunter, you love that. Has a defensive minded head coach, but yeah, and
Danielle Hunter got re-upped. We should mention as well. He signed a
$35 million. I think I saw something
yes,
like that.
so a nice little extension. So those guys are locked in there in Houston.
Yeah. So Will Anderson's great, man. He's a fun piece and just going to get better. I think we've definitely not seen the ceiling from him. So
yeah, I mean PFF grades got better. Bobo, 81.8 overall in 2023, 85.1. His pass rush grade stayed about the same, 77 to 75. His coverage grade, which I think is funny, run defense 77 pretty much. So he improved overall, both his output, his performance. I don't think there's a lot of dynasty assets that feel as secure as Will Anderson in Houston.
Yeah, Will Anderson was a freaking college too. And, we love the stats from college translating to the NFL. And what do you know? 2 years into the NFL and the guy's actually putting up some production. So I just think that weighs a lot when you've got, obviously not everybody goes to Alabama. And Will Anderson was a really prolific pass rusher and was talked about years prior to him coming out. But I think this is kind of the range that maybe you could consider that Abdul Carter for next year. Like if Abdul Carter comes out and has a similar year 1, year 2 of Will Anderson, we're going to be talking about Micah Parsons, Will Anderson, Abdul Carter, Aidan Hutchinson, Jared Verse maybe in that, top 5 category
I
next
think
year.
Abdul Carter falls more into the Will Anderson archetype for me than like the Dallas Turner archetype.
Agreed.
Where I expect impact from year 1. As long as the foot holds up, stress reaction for Abdul Carter, and we don't see any like broken foot situation happening, I expect this sort of trajectory for Abdul Carter. So, yeah, I think he could be the riser that we see jump into the top 3, top 4 from where he sits as edge 8. But
I feel like we were on to Will Anderson pretty early, too.
yeah, we loved Will
I
Anderson.
think we've been
Houston
clamoring for him
trading
for
up for
a while.
him. I mean, top 3 draft capital. That's sick.
And honestly, pretty easy when it comes to. I mean, the dude was prolific as far as like early production at college.
5-star.
Box checker.
What box did he not check?
I mean, every single one. Like combine was good.
Production in college, where he went to college, draft capital,
All of them.
every single
And
box.
then the NFL production's been good.
Yep.
Getting better. I mean, yeah, this is can't miss.
Now, Addy, sitting as your edge 1, your number 2 overall IDP Dynasty asset. I think a lot of folks, we've talked about this before, a lot of folks check out at midseason. So they might have missed how good Micah Parsons was down the stretch. 18.45 points per game. That was 7th overall and 2nd amongst edge rushers. He's about to get a bag bigger than Myles Garrett and Maxx Crosby got because Jerry Jones is somehow always a year behind in paying his players. So maybe the market will wake up and take notice at that point. I think the streets have always undervalued Micah Parsons a little bit. I think it's in large part because their league scoring may be whack, or he might have been designated as a linebacker. Because if you have things dialed in correctly, there's almost nobody you'd rather have an IDP than Parsons. Well, almost nobody, as we'll talk about. But since he came in, you're looking at, since 2022, DL4, DL10, DL8 in points per game. I mean, 16.8, 16.7, 16.2. All those numbers, Addy, start with 16. That's pretty damn good for a
Pretty good.
edge rusher.
Pretty good. I don't think we have 2021 on there. Did he come in 2022 or 2020? I think he came in 2021.
I think he was 21, yes.
But
He
21 might have been his best
he was
season.
112.
Was 19.7 points per game in 21.
Wow.
It was, yes.
16.8, 16.6, and 16.2.
And that's probably, people have been chasing that. It's like the Nick Bolton effect. People have been chasing that high of the rookie season. Guys, what we've gotten is still really amazing.
Still very, very good. And he's, 26? Like, again, we're about to see him just break the bank wide open. PFF stuff has always been prolific. 90 overall PFF grade last season. That was 6th among edge rushers. 5.4 pressures per game. That was 2nd behind Aidan Hutchinson, who only played 5 games. 16.4% pressure rate. That was tied for 4th among edge rushers. 20.2% pass rush win rate. That was 3rd among edge rushers. And that's every single season with Micah Parsons. So, yeah, just a great player. And I think that we see him tick up a little more from this 16 point per game average that he's had in the last 3 years. I think we could see him back to, 18, 19 points per game at some point.
Yeah, I think he's about to remind everyone how good he is because, again, missed a lot of games earlier in the season. A lot of folks were checked out by Halloween and kind of missed what Micah Parsons was doing. Because Micah Parsons was balling, y'all, 18.45 points per game down the stretch. So,
Yeah, I don't get the hate for him. I really don't. I mean, he's delivered every single season. I mean, there's, it's hard to find people that do that for you, and especially this young, like, and immediately, like
25.8 years old.
It's just so rare. Like we're ranting and raving about Will Anderson, but like Micah Parsons came out of the gate averaging 19.7
right.
per game.
Yes,
Crazy,
exactly. 11.4 for Will Anderson. Just to illustrate. Now, Micah Parsons needs to stop yapping. He's in a feud
I would
right
like
now
that.
with DeMarcus Lawrence. Which, man, come on, stop it. Like, just.
Also, D-Law, come on, bro. What are we doing?
Yeah, that wasn't a good look from D-Law.
That was odd.
A lot of those players kind of run their mouths about their former teams. Like I saw DK Metcalf talking about the Seahawks. So a lot of these guys are just
Najee
butthurt.
Harris was doing the same
Yeah,
thing.
exactly. A lot of these guys are butthurt after they get dumped by their original team. So, but just everyone shut up. Just log out. Go touch grass.
All these Gen Zs getting in front of the mic.
That's right. I like them trying to set up their post NFL career early on, but just know when to draw the line.
Y'all heard about this grounding stuff people are doing?
Grounding.
So they're starting off their day with their shoes off out in the yard for
wow.
15, 20 minutes.
I could get behind that.
All right, is this
I'm
Matt
kinda
Collins driving the grounding? Because he walks around no shoes everywhere.
Oh,
he
yeah.
goes,
I love
right?
that.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. The only where he
Like in stores and stuff.
only place he wears shoes is on an NFL field.
Have y'all seen my, I call them Jack
And
Johnson
airport.
shoes?
They make him wear airport.
Y'all seen my toe shoes?
Yes.
Yeah, those are good shoes.
They're awesome.
like those.
Yeah, they're cozy.
Yeah, you guys are weird.
I'm a grass guy.
Dude, when I got to play golf a couple weeks ago, no one was out there.
Took them off.
Took them off, putted
love
around
that.
for about 30 minutes.
I love that.
Well, I mean, like that's like an equivalent of like a massage.
You know the place you want to do that at? Old
Shady
Stone.
Hollow.
Or Shady.
Oh, look at you guys.
That would be
Old Stone.
Old
the
Stone.
Masters.
I want to be.
Yeah.
I want to be naked in
Heaven.
Old Stone.
Yeah.
True.
Rolling
Don't be
around in the
naked at all
grass.
stuff. How the hell did you get here from Micah Parsons, Bobo?
I don't know. You said
Greatness.
grounding.
Greatness.
It's also 10:51.
Grounding. What did I say? Grounding.
You said grounded, grounding.
Yeah, I think that was your thought.
That was your thought.
maybe
I
it
did
was
not
me.
bring up
You brought up
grounding.
I
people
don't know.
doing it.
I don't know.
You brought up
Josh said
grounding,
something.
Josh. Like the hell I did.
What, are you grounding or something? Are you?
I'm grounding right now. I've had my shoes off for an hour and a
No
half.
wonder what stinks. Jesus.
Hey, I tell you, my little boy, he's grounded.
Yeah, you're both about to be
Get your butt in
grounded.
bed right now.
All right, let's wrap it up here. And it's Travis Hunter at the 101. The haters are going to be super upset about this one, Adam. But I think we've made the case all offseason. There was no one you would rather have in IDP because of the potential upside. If you are looking at and ranking guys based on upside and IDP, even if there is a little bit of a trap door here with Travis Hunter because we don't know, but the upside is so great. This guy could do for IDP what we've never seen a single player do. I mean, ever.
Yep.
Right? There is historic potential here.
Yeah, and that's what we're looking for, right? And I mean, you're seeing the buzz grow like that. There's no way this dude doesn't get a boatload of snaps on offense. Like everyone's already starting to say like, oh, this is the best receiver in the draft. You're
Right.
starting to see
I've
that.
heard that
like,
a lot.
Ted McMillan, like he's starting to get some
Little
warts on
fade.
him, right?
Yeah.
So we're already there, man. And he's like we've been talking about. I've had Travis Hunter ranked number 1 since December.
Right. I remember that.
So, yeah, I mean, just, par for the course as usual. This is what we do. You got to see these things coming. And I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be really sad that they faded Travis Hunter. But
Yeah.
it ain't going to be anyone that is at this table or listens to the show.
If the ceiling case hits for Travis Hunter, you win your league. And you have him, you win your league. And there is not a lot of guys, really no one in IDP that you can say that about, Bobo.
There's also not a lot of guys in IDP that are going to sit here and tell you to draft Travis Hunter because they're going to be scared. I don't feel like at this table we have ever given you timid takes. We've always shot for the moon. We've been wrong a couple times, but I mean, I feel like we've been right a lot too. And if you're behind, if you're too scared, if you're not willing to take the shots, then you're not going to be able to grab guys like Travis Hunter. You're not going to be able to roster guys like Micah Parsons. You're not going to see guys like Will Anderson on your team.
What's nice is you can take this swing without really having to have it be a huge swing because a lot of guys are going to be out.
Yeah.
I was thinking about today, if you didn't go Travis Hunter at 102 in our rookie draft, how far does he fall?
Yeah.
I'm sitting at 105. Could he possibly slip down to 105 if you don't take him at 102?
Well, I have 104 also.
Well, yeah. So it's like, does he slide to 104? Which is crazy to me because you have, I think our buddy Sigmund Bloom laid out the case. If you're in a start 2 cornerback league, he's in the argument for 101.
Yeah.
Overall. So
you know what I thought about the other day? How do you draft Travis Hunter in a redraft league next year? Like just offense only.
I'll take him probably pretty high.
Like, are you going to take him?
Like a wide receiver 3 or 4.
Underdog,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
being suppressed right now.
Really?
He's been a big faller in underdog drafts, which is 2025 best ball offense only. So he's labeled as a wide receiver on their platform, obviously.
I mean, I would be drafting him just on the chance that he's a full-time receiver.
So best case scenario for me would be please go to Drake May. That would be amazing. Drake May is going
That's
to
the
love
landing
you.
spot I want.
He's going to be open all the time. And you've got some little ancillary pieces in whatever you think of Jalen Polk, your boy Javon Baker. They've also got Pop Douglas.
Good tight ends,
Yeah,
solid tight ends.
they've got some running backs and stuff there to help as well. But then exactly what you laid out earlier in the episode, Adam, that you put Travis Hunter opposite Christian Gonzalez, you've got a real team right there. You've got a real problem when it comes to opposing offensive playing against those two guys. So Travis Hunter, man, 1,900 yards offensively in Colorado, 153 total receptions, 20 total touchdowns. Also to go with 66 combined tackles in 2 seasons, 3 TFLs, and 7 interceptions.
How many PDs? Don't forget about those.
16 PDs.
Yep.
How many touchdowns did he have? He housed a couple of them this year, didn't he?
Couple pick sixes.
I think he did. I think he had a game where he had like 2 receiving touchdowns and a pick six. Maybe?
I think you're right. I don't know. I can't find it right now. But
He's
anyway,
such a stud, dude.
just a stat stuffer. He's going to stuff them on both sides of the ball. So much fun, dude. Just fun. What could be more fun than watching Travis
Let's have
Hunter
fun.
week in
It's
and
the year
week
of Travis
out?
Hunter. Like we've said, this is the biggest year for IDP
And as far as
ever
like,
because of Travis Hunter.
and as far as like fun players, like
Yeah.
it's Genty and it's Hunter, and then it ain't really close. Like Ted is fine.
He's falling.
He's fallen, and I don't know. I mean, I do worry about his upside, but I mean,
All the other
Those
running
two-
backs feel the same.
right?
You know, Judkins, Hampton,
Yes,
Johnson, Henderson. They're going to be fine. They're not going to be Genty.
not gonna be Hunter.
Tet and Luther Burden are going to be fine. They're not going to be Hunter.
Nope.
You know, who's going to be Mike Green's going to be fine. He's not going to be Abdul Carter.
There's
You know,
levels to it, folks.
There's level to this
Schwezinger's,
thing.
all the linebackers we're talking about, they're going to be fine. They're not going to be Jihaad Campbell. I feel like there's a cream to this. There's a cream to this rookie draft.
Yeah, there's some blue
real
chip
thin.
guys that,
Yep.
and then there's a big fat middle.
Oh, absolutely.
So if you're an NFL team trying to draft these guys, you're in a great spot.
The fat middle's pretty good this year.
Yeah, the fat middle.
pretty
the
good.
top end blue chip talent, you can count it on one hand, I think.
I agree.
I've got the 102 in an RSO league.
Ooh.
I'll be going Hunter.
Yeah, you got to. I think he's a
Staying
no-brainer.
in there. Good for you.
That's the only reason I did.
Good for you,
That was,
Adam.
I was like, well, I'd have the 102 in
Hey,
there.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we're proud of you. Thank you for sticking around. Another 2+ hour episode.
It's got to stop.
But when we
I'm
start
exhausted.
talking top 24 dynasty rankings, you know we're
This
going
is
to
the
go
last
deep.
one.
And this is what you have to look forward to. When we get into the summer, we'll be talking again. Top 24 safeties, top 24 edge rushers, top 48 linebackers.
Part
So,
2 next week, 25 through 48.
Let's do it.
It's going to be
but
me
yeah,
and Adam. Josh probably going to be gone. Where are you going to be gone to?
I won't be here. That's
Huh?
for sure.
In Mexico.
Italy?
Again.
In Mexico. I will be
Mongolia?
going to Mexico later on in April.
4th
but-
time this year.
Yeah, right after the draft, actually. So be fun. But
There's some
yes,
shady going on there. Somebody check into that.
don't check into what
check
I'm
him
doing
at
in
Customs
Mexico.
if you don't mind.
Check out what I'm doing next week on IDP Drafts, though. It's going to be fun. We'll be talking D-Up. We'll figure out what we're doing here in a couple weeks. Maybe another rookie mock draft is kind of what I was thinking. Could be fun. But we'll do something. We'll be here. And we know you guys will be here as well because you're plugged in. You want to win your leagues. And that's what we're going to help you do. TheIDPShow.com. Make sure you check out the after show. Next week, we've got Mike Wohlert on talking rookie linebackers with Jace Abbey, so don't miss that. TheIDPShow.com. Mike's also dropping his rookie linebacker preview. I think it clocks in at like 6,500, 7,000 words. So nobody's putting in the work this offseason like the IDP Show team.
Hey, Substack is awesome. When you click the little audio button and it actually reads it to you.
Isn't that cool?
Nice little feature.
Make sure you download the app, folks. Substack app is the way to go to get our content, theidpshow.com. And like I said, if you're in a state where FastDraft is live, make sure to download. Use our promo code IDPShow for up to $25 deposit match. And we'll see you in the draft, and we'll see you here in a couple weeks. Y'all take care and enjoy the ball.
It's the IDP